This is the regular board meeting of September 11, 2025. It is now 4:01. We'll begin roll call.
President Joe,
Present.
Vice President Lake,
Here.
Clerk Chavez,
Present.
Member Herrera,
Here.
Member Cortese.
Here.
All right. I like how we are like on the dot today. Let's see, people are very excited about this. So I will read the 102. I know there's no one in the room, but I will read it anyway for the record. Welcome to the regular board meeting of September 11, 2025. Are there any member of the public who would like to provide public comment to the board on a closed session agenda item at this time? There's no one in the room other than us. There's no one online. All right. The board will now recess to closed sessions. Yeah, I just he's in the middle of something, but I'm gonna have to start anyway. All right. Welcome back. We'll resume with open sessions with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Welcome to the regular board meeting of September 11, 2025. Member of the public, please submit your public comment as follow. In-person public comment may be made in person in the boardroom by filling out a public speaker request form located at the entrance of the meeting room. There should be a few up there in the front. You may raise your virtual hand in Zoom to request to speak and offer comment in real time. You will have 2 minutes to speak. You may also submit comments electronically online before or during the meeting, 1,000 character limit, by accessing the agenda link to the form on the district homepage. Please reference the agenda item numbers in your written comment. Please note, regular and special meeting of the Board of Trustees and the Board of Study sessions are streamed live on meeting night and are also available for viewing the day after the meeting by accessing the district YouTube channel listed on the district webpage at www.ESUHSD.org under the quick link sections. The board is not able to respond to items that are not on the agenda or any personnel issues. Your comment will be read into the record and would also be directed to the superintendent and or the appropriate staff member for response. Interpretations of these meetings in Spanish and Vietnamese can be heard by accessing the link and following the instructions shown on the agenda and the district website. Right. Item 5.01. The superintendent and on the board may request that item be removed from the agenda for consideration or carried to future board meeting for considerations. Superintendent Venezi, do you have any?
Nothing to be moved to
I think
another
the
board meeting.
Mr. Vanity, if I may please ask to remove 8.03 to be carried to the September 25th board meeting.
Could you please repeat that number?
8.03?
All right, yeah, we'll move that to, you want that in October or September 25th?
September 25th.
Okay, we'll move 803 to September 25th.
Thank you. All right. Any other requests from colleagues? All right. Statement from Student Board Liaison, Adeline Lay, Student Governing Board Representative.
Hello. Okay, so in our last meeting, we talked about this project SGB wants to do, which is updating the allergens chart from East Side because there are some food restrictions that are not listed in the East Side allergens list. So we would like to go over that. And it's a work in progress right now. We're probably going to spend 2 to 3 weeks or so on this, or 2 or 3 months because our meetings are not that often. But we are excited to work on it, and we're also making a form to have people fill out like what allergies they have and what they'd like to see in the future for our East Side lunch menus. Thank you.
801, discussion and action to adopt Metropolitan Education District restated ground lease with PS Northern California.
Before we do that, Section 8 also allows us to request that items be considered out of order.
Yep.
We've already moved 803 to the subsequent meeting. I'm going to ask that we move 802 till after 903.
Yep. Anything else?
No.
Right. In that case, 801,
Just
sir.
a quick question. And this is just a check-in. I seem to recall something about the public hearing around this map process needing to be heard at a time certain, which is different than most of the other public hearings we have.
You got
So
1
just
minute back.
checking in.
But it said that we could finish whatever item we're on before we go, even if it's past 6:30.
Got it.
Right, correct. You just cannot start prior to it. Okay,
So
so
the other understanding is that we do have another public hearing for 6:15 before the 6:30.
you got 1 minute. As long as you start that item, so that you're okay.
Then I'm going to have to request that we move that hearing to after 903 as well.
Okay, understood. For the 901, we're now to go after 903.
So we will conduct 801 here, and then we'll move 802. And
Understood.
we'll move 901 to after 903. 901 and 902 till after 903.
Okay. In light of that, what I'm hearing from you is we now have to start 903. Now.
Well, we're going to finish 801 since we
Yep.
started it.
Yep.
This should take a total of 30 seconds if we're good here. So Metro Ed we have a joint powers agreement with 5 other districts with that. And the Metro Ed is on a property of which other entities rent. There's a McDonald's there, there's a public storage. What you have before you is a recently negotiated terms of the rental agreement between Public Storage and Metro Ed. It has been, it's going to all the districts for approval. This really has no impact on the budget for Eastside. And we're asking that you approve the agreement here for the JPA.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Cortese, second by Herrera. Ms. Lay, how do you vote?
Aye.
Colleagues, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed 5-0. Now we're gonna move on to a hearing for 903, because it is, well, it's actually 6:30, 6:31 actually. We will now hold public hearing schedules at approximately 6:30 regarding the transition to by district area elections. The public is invited to a presentation to be provided by consultant redistricting partner and provide input regarding the composition of the district to be established by the board. We have a list of speakers, but before we do that, Mr. Mitchell, I believe you have a presentation for us.
We'll get into that just for those that are listening and online and also our friends in attendance. And thank you all for being here tonight. It was a little over 90 days ago, last year, the district received notice of an intent for us to look into trustee area voting, a move away from district-wide voting for our 5 trustees. This board listened to that, looked at that complaint, and chose to move in that direction for the pretty simple cause that we're a pretty large place and that local community involvement creates local voice. And so moved in that direction. Under the law, the district has to conclude that process and take action within 90 days. We're a massive district with a large voting population. And so the district asked that representative groups, if we could get a 90-day extension to have 180 days to complete this process. This process doesn't really is not concerned in terms of the law if that happens over the summer or the winter or when. You have 180 days to complete the process. It needs to be made up of at least 5 public hearings. And we have added additional hearings and we added additional workshops for people to learn how to enter maps. And so the district has gone through this process that ultimately will lead to the 5 members of the board voting on a recommended map that's in full compliance with the law. But I think also, if I can speak a little bit anecdotally, is make sure that it recognizes who we are as Eastside and the complexity of Eastside and is representative of Eastside. No matter how large or small the voice, that this process doesn't lead to disunity, but allows us to continue to be here for all students and advocate for all. So as part of that process, we also have contracted with the demographer to make sure that the maps are consistent in full compliance with the law as they interact with suggested maps by the public, and also something that people participated not in defining a map, but in identifying what a community of interest might be. And so taking all that data in, the board has gone through multiple hearings now and seen maps. And so tonight is the night for us to get to the latest of where we are with maps and for the board to ask any questions or to give any direction in terms of maps or changes to maps that you might want to see going forward. Ultimately, to take action by our next, the final meeting that we have is currently slated to take action is September 25th. That's 14 days from now. But ultimately, we have to conclude this entire process by October 5th because that's the end of our 180 days. I want to say just from the get, I've appreciated the tone and spirit in which people have engaged with each other and with the district, and for those that took time to develop the maps. And this is kind of your night to really ask any questions about them and where they are in compliance with the law. So ultimately, we won't be voting on a map tonight. Let's make that clear. But asking the questions and getting further direction towards the maps that ultimately we want to make that the board would want to vote into action. Am I wrong that the next time that we would revisit this map is 5 years from now? Is that the next?
Yeah.
If once approved from
2031.
Yeah, so once these are approved and then sent to the county and ultimately approved, then these maps they hold for 5 years before they're revisited. So it's important, and who knows who's sitting where in 5 years, right? So it's important that we really get the input and get these maps to do what we aim to do, which is to meet students as they are, get to know their areas of growth and their areas of strength, so we can positively respond, so they can be full participants in their classrooms, their schools in Silicon Valley. And we know it takes an entire community to do that. And we know it takes an informed and representative board to get that done as well. So probably wanted to jump in a little sooner than that, but thank you for allowing me. And now let's get into where we are in terms of the draft maps. And then board, you'll have the chance, and board president, if you want to entertain public comment after that as part of the hearing.
Great, thank you. And just as part of the process here, I'll go through a PowerPoint, and then you'll likely want to take public comment after maybe you have some questions. And then I can, before we leave tonight, always open up mapping software. We could look at any of these maps and make changes, make recommended changes. You could pull up from the website any of the public submission maps. We could look at those. If maybe say there's a publicly submitted map that you really like, we could open it up and see if there's any little tweaks that need to happen in order to make it fall in compliance with the law. And then you could agendize that for your next meeting as one of the potential draft maps. So we have an A, B, and C invitation. If you want to make a draft plan D or something like that, that is something that works better for how you guys have, what feedback you've received and everything, I'm happy to do that. But first I'll go through the presentation. This isn't as big as the first presentation I did, but it does kind of go through some of the same stuff you've seen. It has been a rather long summer, at least for me. And so maybe this is a little refresher for anybody who hasn't seen it for a while. So I'm going to go through what the Fair Maps Act is, what the California Voting Rights Act is, talk about communities of interest, look at public submissions, draft maps, and the hearing schedule and what's next. So first off, this is why we're here, is because of the California Voting Rights Act. And the California Voting Rights Act is a law that is really specific just to agencies that are in at-large election systems like yours, where one election cycle you elect 2 and the other election cycle you elect 3 and everybody in the whole agency votes. That's an at-large election system. And areas that have racially polarized voting. So we did not do a full racially polarized voting analysis of your district, but we know from, I did the redistricting for the city of San Jose, I did the redistricting for Santa Clara County, I've done redistricting for the water agency here. We were involved in the statewide redistricting. We know that there's racially polarized voting in this region. And there's racially polarized voting. When we talk about racially polarized voting, we're talking about protected classes. And so there's racially polarized voting among Latinos and Asians in the county. There are other populations like the Black population or even other ethnic minorities that might have racially polarized voting but aren't at the quantity available to be the majority of a district. And so there's a different threshold for ethnic populations that can be the majority of a district. That falls into what's called Section 2 of the Federal Voting Rights Act, which we hope will still be around in 6 months, but we don't know with this current Supreme Court what's going on there. But with the Federal Voting Rights Act, we're going to be talking predominantly about Asian and Latino populations because they can achieve 50% of a district. And then for other populations like renters and homeowners and income and socioeconomic demographics and all that, we can also consider that in the districting process as well. So beyond the Federal Voting Rights Act, the criteria for the Fair Maps Act start with a very simple one, which is that districts need to be relatively equal sized. Now in congressional districts, they have to be sized equally to 1 person. That is not fun to do, but it is a requirement in the federal redistricting process that congressional districts are done to 1 person. With a municipality, in most parts of the country, it's a 10% total deviation, meaning that the biggest district is no more than 10% larger than the smallest district. And we're looking at total population based on the US Census, the decennial census. So this is data from 2020, not data from last week. When we draw districts, they need to be contiguous, meaning they need to be whole pieces. We need to maintain communities of interest, and communities of interest is somewhat subjective. It can include ethnic populations, nationalities, language populations. It can include high income, low income. It can include populations that have a lot of seniors or have a lot of kids. Communities of interest can be a lot of things. And just because something was a key critical community of interest for the community college redistricting or for the city redistricting or the county redistricting doesn't mean that it has to be the community of interest that's most important to you. So that's one thing to note. When you're a school board, you might have different things you're thinking about in terms of what are the most important communities of interest in your process. One example of that I will talk about is attendance areas. You know, when we did San Jose Evergreen redistricting, we didn't look at your attendance areas, and they don't have attendance areas in community colleges. So, so that would be something that's unique to you and doesn't necessarily mean that you have to follow it, but it is one of those kind of things. Districts should be easily understandable. And this is a kind of, you see it, you know, when you see it thing, when a member of the public sees the districts, do they make sense to them? They say, oh, I see that that's these major neighborhoods that all kind of are together. Or that's following a freeway. That's following a major road. That's following a geographic feature. So they should make sense in that sense. And then districts should be compact, meaning, well, nationally, compactness is mathematical. Like districts that are more like spheres, more like circles and squares, they're more compact than districts that have long shapes. In California, compactness is more qualitative than quantitative. What we say in compactness in California is that a district is compact if it keeps nearby populations together. So a district is not compact if it avoids nearby populations to go get far away populations. So if a district was starting over here with Mary Lou and coming across and then ran over here and went over here to Tom and then around the rest of the board, bypassing all of you for no reason, that would not be a compact district in the state law. It's very unique. Only California has that standard. So communities of interest can include things like, you know, a shared public policy concern or, you know, a socioeconomic characteristic. What they cannot include is political party affiliation. They cannot include incumbent or candidates. So where one individual person lives isn't a community of interest. And it's also hard to identify communities of interest that are so broad that they're not geographically concentrated. So somebody came up and said, I'm left-handed and that's my community of interest. All us left-handed people want the funny scissors and the can openers that are backwards. Like, that's great, but you can't geographically draw where they live. So it's hard to use that in a redistricting context. You might have other policies where you're concerned about the community, but in regards to drawing districts, it's hard because you need shapes in population. So attendance areas are an interesting use of potential communities of interest. They are really great for the easily understandable part. So like, as you'll see in some of the maps, you'll see like that this Independence attendance area up here will, obviously because of where it is, will kind of be together, but anything that kind of follows those lines will be easily understood by voters. They'll say, oh, that makes sense. At the flip side, if we look in here at the bottom part of this Independence attendance area, and we look at this intersection of these multiple 4 or 5 attendance areas here, in a redistricting context, this takes the majority, minority, Latino area, and these attendance areas split that Latino area into 4 or 5 pieces. So we can't go into this area and use these attendance areas as like the ideal way to draw districts, because these attendance areas themselves kind of divide up a strong community of interest and might have Section 2 Voting Rights Act protections. And so in some cases, in some cases, these attendance areas can be used as a guidepost as we're drawing districts, but they can't be used as the be-all end-all. And of course, these districts aren't equally populated either. So it's one of these things, like if we can utilize them to create a better district that matches the understanding voters have of their own district, that's great. But we can't do it to the extent of violating the equal population or to the extent of dividing communities. This is something that we did early on at the request from the public to dive into some of the mapping of where the demographics are. And I'm going to go through these more in detail, but on the left, we have the Asian population, and the district is by citizen voting age population, 46% Asian and 35% Latino. Now, again, there's all these different data things going around, okay? If we're to look at total population, 46% Asian and 35% Latino, that's total population. If we're to look at student population, it's probably, I think somebody cited the data, it's much more heavily Latino in student population, more than a majority in student population is Latino. But in terms of total population of all people, it's 35% Latino and 46% Asian. That second item there is the citizen voting age population. That is a different data set that the census puts out. And that is a proxy for eligible voters. So of the eligible voters, 47% are, Asians are 47% by citizen voting age population, and Latinos are 29% by citizen voting age population. You can see that the Asian CVAP is what that's called, goes up a point, and the Latino CVAP goes down by 6 points, largely due to citizenship and more kids potentially in the Latino households. So because of that, those are the kind of base census data. When we talk about a district being X% Latino or Asian, we're going to be using that lower number, the citizen voting age population, because that's what they use in Voting Rights Act cases. if we look at the Latino CVAP, remember I pointed out the areas in which those attendance areas all kind of came together. You can see that in here. That is the very heavily Latino population. And then there's a secondary kind of somewhat heavy Latino population down here. When we look at the Asian population, you see a couple different pockets of the Asian population. So up in the northern portion here, and then down here in the southern part. Yeah. You see the little red dot? Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, my alternate would be to go walk up there, but then I wouldn't have a microphone. So you have Asian population in a couple different areas of density, and then one up here north that's separate. And again, back right here was where that heavy Latino population was. Among the Asian population, when we break it down and look at the surnames of registered voters, we can identify that 60% of the Asian registered voters are Vietnamese, 15% Filipino, 14% Chinese. Now we dug in even further based on the request and looked at primary language. And if this is a little bit, here we see on the left, the dark blue, I won't use the pointer because it's so small. The dark blue there is the most heavily Vietnamese language population in the district. On the right, the northern portion here is the dark blue. That's the most heavily Mandarin or Cantonese. So the Chinese population. And then here on the left, that again, that Latino population, you can see that really popping out there with the most heavily Latino, this is Spanish language spoken at home population. And on the right, the Tagalog, which is Filipino, you can see that is also a little bit more heavily in the northern area. So this is a way for us to kind of step back and look at these communities, particularly within the Asian community. You've got 3 different nationalities that are in different parts of the district. And this is the zoom in of that heavily Vietnamese population there. And that's important to look at as we look at these potential draft maps, because this is a strong community of interest here. That's the Mandarin Cantonese. I'll get this bigger. This is Tagalog. This is the Spanish. So now, if we look at the socioeconomic data, let's look at this real quick. This is where more heavily renter. So you see more heavily renter here in the northern area, and then in this kind of denser population here. The Latino population has significant renter population, heavy renter as well. What you don't see is a lot of renters here on the perimeter, on the eastern side of the district. In this whole arc, kind of starting up here and going all the way down and around, you have a lot fewer renters, a lot more homeowners. Median income, you also see in that arc, kind of a higher median income, darker blues on that eastern side and lower income on the western side. So there were a number of public submissions done, and they're all on the website. We can look at any of them. Like I said, after we're done with the presentation, we're happy to bring up any of the maps that the public has submitted and look at ways that we might want to modify them. What's important to note is that from the first round of public submissions that were done, that's how we created our draft maps. So some of the maps in there have like deviation errors. Like when we look at it, it's maybe like 10.1% total plan deviation. Something like that is super easy for me to fix. And so if we did want to adopt a map or look at a map that's got a too high a deviation, that's pretty easy to fix. The things that are hard to fix is if somebody's drawn a map and it just splits a community of interest, or if it doesn't create necessary majority minority districts. Then you're dealing with something that's a little bit more of an overall plan issue versus a technical issue. So the 3 draft maps were created from these 3 plans, the 300-295, 300-296, and 300-848. Those 3 original maps you can see on the mapping page on the website. You can see them as they were originally created. We modified them to make draft maps A, B, and C. Most of the modification was to like tighten up the deviations, make sure every census block was assigned, do these kind of technical things. This is draft plan A. And I'm going to show you what the data tables look like here so that you'll see as you look at a map, you have the data and you can kind of go back and forth and look at the map and the data separately as well. So this is a data table. And remember I said that there's a census data, which is the decennial census, the 2020 data. That's all the data at the top. That's total population. The data at the bottom is just the citizen voting age population. So you can see for starters that like District 1 here, the total population, it's 107,000 voters or 107,000 residents. The citizen voting age population is almost half that in District 1. When we look here up here at the top, you'll see that you have population, then deviation. Deviation is how far away is this population from the ideal district size. And if we look at this next slide, you'll see that the deviations in these 5 districts, they start with a negative 2.2, plus 4.1, negative 1.7, 1.6, negative 1.8. The plan's total deviation is, for any of the high school students or in the room from math, the sum of the absolute values. So the smallest district is this negative 2.2 and the largest district is this plus 4.1. So the total plan deviation is the sum of those absolute values. So the total plan deviation is 6.3%. That is well under the 10%. And as long as it's under 10%, we check that box of equal population. Down in this lower data table, that's where we see this issue of the citizen voting age population and if a district can be over 50% citizen voting age population of any protected class. You'll see that the highest Latino CVAP here is 50.5. Then you have 3 districts, districts 3, 4, and 5 that are over 50%. So if we were to go back to the map, in this map, District 1 is the district that is over 50% citizen voting age population Latino. These 3 districts, 4, 3, and 5, are over 50% Asian. And then this district number 2 is neither majority Asian or Latino. Draft Plan B, which I think got the most positive feedback at one of the first hearing where we presented these draft plans. Draft Plan B creates I think a more compact majority minority Latino district. And then it creates these 3 Asian districts here, 4, 5, and 3. And what's nice about this one is that as we saw when we went in and looked at the nationality, that heavily Vietnamese population is here in 3. And so that most heavily Vietnamese population is encapsulated in District 3 in this plan and kind of kept together. When we look at the deviation, it's 1.3 or it's 3% total plan deviation. When we look at the citizen voting age population, that Latino district that was 50.1 in the first plan is now all the way up to 53.4. So it's a higher citizen voting age population, which could mean that the Latino population would have a better ability to elect a candidate of choice in that area because even if they have lower turnout, they would still have sufficient numbers. The 3 districts that are most heavily Asian are still over 50%. And obviously this district number 4 here is well over 50%. And then you have 1 district here, this district number 2, that is neither majority, minority, Asian, Latino, or obviously in all these, there's the Black citizen voting age population as well. But the Black citizen voting age population never triggers that kind of 50% mark that allows us to discuss the ethnic population in more detail under Section 2 of the Federal Voting Rights Act.
So just a quick question about that. I think it's important as we review these maps that while clearly the Black community isn't going to have numbers to create a majority district, we can certainly look at maps that create higher concentrations so that they have a better more access to participation.
Yes, so the Federal Voting Rights Act, Section 2 of the Federal Voting Rights Act, and maybe in 6 months I won't be able to give this speech, but the Federal Voting Rights Act is a funny law in the way that it's conflicting with the Equal Protection Clause. So Equal Protection Clause says, no, you can't look at race. You can't look at ethnicity. That would be illegal to say, can we put more Black residents in this district? Because the equal protection says you can't do that. Section 2 comes in and says, well, if you have these three factors, something that's over 50% of one ethnicity, like these districts here, the Asian Latino districts, and a history of racially polarized voting from those communities. And thirdly, you have a history of the white population voting against the interests of the minority populations. Now you can look at race more as a, not a predominant factor, but you can look at race more in order to maximize the voting power of those communities. So it is a weird thing that under the Federal Voting Rights Act, Latino and Asian communities, if you were to say, hey, Paul, is 51% or 53% sufficient for Latinos to elect a candidate of choice? We could have that conversation, and we could even try to, I've been in jurisdictions where they said, no, the Latino population has to be 60% because we meet those three criteria. If Latinos were 32% of the population, we couldn't have that conversation. You could not legally say, can we make this 32% Latino district 38% Latino? Because it would be a violation of the Equal Protection Clause. It's like a light switch. Once you hit those three criteria of over 50% and have racially polarized voting, the light switch turns on and we could look at race in a different way. But when they're under 50%, the light switch is off and we can't talk about race in that way. So there is a difference in the way that we can, if we're going to talk about the Black population in the district when it's at 4 and 5%, we can talk about it as a community of interest.
Let's talk about it as a community of interest.
Yeah, we just can't talk about it as a ethnic community.
Fair point.
So
Let's talk about it as a community of interest. And the other thing I'm curious about is that you said, that I forget which aspect of the law is looking at. Well, if you've got, some majority Latino, some majority Asian, and then a white population voting against either one of those two. I don't think we have that number 3 scenario. Like, I don't think there are enough. I don't know how, if you look at the overall population of East Side, I mean, what's the overall demographics? I mean, certainly student-wise, white students are a minority.
Well, this isn't speaking to the student population. This is speaking to the voting history in the county or
But
in
if
the
we have
region.
like 5 or 6% white students, I don't know that we have that many more voting age people in the district. I could be wrong, but
Yeah, so like in these districts here, this other citizen voting age population,
wait, where are you?
right here in the third row down on the citizen
Okay,
voting age
yep,
population.
yep.
So you have like in that heavily Latino district, it's only 9.3%. But in District 2, it's almost 40%.
White,
What other is
other.
white, Alaskan Native, or Hawaiian.
Okay,
So that's going to be predominantly white.
okay,
And then in these other districts, these other 3 districts, 3, 4, and 5, your white population, white citizen voting age population is in the high teens. So probably effectively in terms of turnout,
right,
white population is probably just north of 20%.
right. So I guess what I'm asking is if the Voting Rights Act is saying that we're going to identify these, we want to create majority, what is it? Minority
Districts, yeah.
right? And I recall at one of the meetings you said, well, we have to create the districts, and it's so hard because how do you talk about race without talking about race, right?
Mhm.
Like, because I get that that's not really applicable here, but I guess I'm just a little confused because we don't really have any, we have 2 populations that are pretty much close to parity, right? But not a majority really overall, right?
Not district-wide.
Right,
Yeah, but within individual districts, they can be majorities.
correct.
Yeah.
But I think what the spirit of this law is to do the thing that you said, that making sure that we don't have white people voting against the interests of minorities, right?
Or it's accepting that there's a history of racially polarized voting wherein white voters vote against the interests of minorities, and accepting that, drawing districts in a way that the minority vote can elect candidates of choice.
Okay, and so where I'm going with this is to, I guess, refute the idea that we have to, I don't know how to say this, but that we have to line up these areas in this way.
So in accepting the fact that you're going to districts, you're accepting the fact that you're in an at-large elected system and that you have racially polarized voting. That's what the California Voting Rights Act is.
Okay,
So, and having done a lot of redistricting in this region, there is a lot of evidence of racially polarized voting in the footprint of the district. Maybe not in your school board elections, but if we were to look at statewide elections, like if we were to look at elections for governor, lieutenant governor, state treasurer, controller, the same kind of elections that they look at in racially polarized voting analysis for all other agencies in the state, you would find that the candidates of choice of the Asian Latino populations are not as successful in the at-large election system as they would be in districts where they can achieve a majority of the population. So that's why, as an
Okay.
example, the Zoe Lofgren congressional district that comes right up here, that is drawn as a majority minority Latino district. That was deemed by the State Redistricting Commission as having racially polarized voting and necessitating a majority minority, of Latinos.
okay, so that's sort of my point.
And then the next door, Rocana's district is almost majority Asian.
Okay,
So
carry on. I'll see if I can come back to my question
course.
in a more articulate way in a little bit.
this is the first time I remember you publicly saying that the district itself, this school district, the Eastside Union High School District, you've not done an actual in-depth analysis for racially polarized voting, only that in prior analyses for city, for county, for legislative, the region, you said that was your word, the region has racially polarized voting. And in answering the questions of my colleague, Cortese, you again said, that the footprint is from regional patterns, not the district itself. And that yet, by us accepting this process to create districts, we were essentially admitting as a district that we have racially polarized voting in this district. It's all really fuzzy stuff for me, but we're way down the road. I'm just making the
Yeah.
observation, that it has puzzled me from the beginning.
So
Because
Mhm.
3 women, 2 men, 2 Latinos, 2 Vietnamese, 1 white. I would say that that's a pretty balanced representation
Yeah.
of this community,
Yeah. So sometimes agencies that have more time and aren't under the time pressure, they'll do their own racially polarized voting analysis. And I've done racially polarized voting analysis in this area for other agencies. And sometimes that will illuminate for them the vulnerability that they have under a California Voting Rights Act challenge. But in other cases, agencies get a demand letter from the attorney. The attorney says they've done the research to find that you have racially polarized voting, and they've done the analysis to find that you're potentially in violation of the California Voting Rights Act, and they're going to sue you if you don't enter a process this safe harbor process of going through redistricting in either 90 or 180 days.
But all those speculative observations you're saying tonight don't apply to this district. In fact,
No.
It may
necessarily.
not necessarily apply to these districts.
Yeah.
What I think if I'm hearing, and I will get to you, Ms. Lay, I just want to wrap this point up because I think there are critical things we want to hear from the member of the public. But when we accept to go to redistricting, in my opinion, we don't necessarily acknowledging the point being made. We simply acknowledge sometimes the practical realities of a lawsuit. So if I wanna make that emphasis. We as collectively, as the five of us, when we vote for this district, we were calculating the economic realities of spending potentially millions of dollars lawsuit, but we don't necessarily agree with the assessment that we are necessarily racial polarizing or not. We never did the analysis, and I think the reflections of this board reflects a pretty wide diverse of our community. Having said that, I do wanna I do want to give Ms. Lay an opportunity to ask her questions or comment.
Hi, I'm sorry, it kind of connects to not really what they're asking, but I just want to learn more about what this implies because like the measurement of racially polarized voting is kind of confusing to me because do you guys take into account like the amount of like first gen immigrants that come into like living in these areas um and they like coming from experience my parents, my relatives, everyone they're eligible to vote, but they mostly vote they don't have a lot of education. My mom never went to college, my dad never finished high school, so they're not very educated on like political matters. And so when they vote or like when they like kind of are pressured into voting by like society, they vote um based on who they've seen in campaigns and who they seen like and who like shares the last name as them kind of or shares like so I was just wondering if you guys took this into account like the first gen and immigrants of like our country and who's part of the voting.
So when you do racially polarized voting analysis, you're looking at all ethnic populations. And in California, we're looking generally at Asian, Latino, and Black populations. But in some parts of the state, you could even look at like Armenian population. I've done that before, or Chaldean population or others. And oftentimes the more first generation communities are more polarized in their voting patterns because just like what you said, a lot of times voters who might be low information voters, they look for shortcuts as to how to vote. That's why partisanship is so important in a lot of elections. You put a D or an R next to somebody's name, a lot of times they get votes from people who don't know who they are, but it's because, oh, that's the Democrat or that's the Republican. If you put school teacher next to your name, you might get a better, vote than lawyer next to your name. And so they look at ballot designations, they look at incumbents, they look at political party, and oftentimes they look at surnames, perceived ethnicity. So I could be, my mom's name is Jennifer Lee. And so somebody who's first generation in her community, if she's running for office, they might vote for her because they think she's Asian, but it's just the fact of the perception. They're voting perceived on what's perceived ethnicity of a candidate. And that is racially polarized voting. And it can happen more in lower information and first generation communities like you've talked about. Whereas when you see maybe second, third, and fourth generation Latinos in Simi Valley, they might not be voting as polarized by ethnicity as Latinos in, Southeast Los Angeles. So there are elements of that, but it's kind of, you let the data tell you the story. You don't dig in too much as to the why. It's just that it's there. But we didn't, again, do a racially polarized voting analysis for the district.
Love hearing you say that.
Well, I'm happy to do one. There is definitely racially polarized voting
In the region.
in this area and in the footprint of the district, for sure.
Well,
So let me get through the rest if that's
Yeah.
okay. All right. So the third plan here, again, creates the 3 Asian majority minority districts and 1 district that is not majority of any population. When you look at the total plan deviation here, this one's an 8.6. Again, that's not worse than a 6.3, but it just is still under 10%. And we look at the citizen voting age population, the most Latino district is 52.5% Latino. And then the 3 Asian districts, none of these in this plan, none of the 3 Asian districts are over 60% Latino or over 60% Asian. And we have the black population here. The most heavily black district is that district number 2 at 4.2%. And the others are between 3.5 and 2. One of the things that will come up for your last meeting is that you need to identify a numbering system when we adopt the plan. We can do that the last thing. What's generally going to happen is, and it's been a while, so I want to make sure these are right in terms of your election process, but you have 3 seats that are up in 2026. So you would set the districts that are going to be coming up in 2026, we would renumber 1, 3, and 5. And then the districts that are coming up in 2028, we would number them 2 and 4. Now, one thing about this part of the process, the numbering, is that when you number them and you're setting what year they're up for election, that is something where you're supposed to take input from the community. And you're supposed to number them in a way that is consistent with the goals of the California Voting Rights Act. So if, as an example, I know that's coded sign kind of, but if it is as an example, the letter you obtained from Kevin Shankman asking you to go to this process said, because of the Latino voting population, we want to have you go to districts. You could say, well, the Latino voting population is generally lower turnout in gubernatorial elections and higher turnout in presidentials. And so there you could decide that the Latino district should be up in 2028, which is concurrent with a presidential election, rather than having that Latino district up in 2026. So you could imagine that if a 50.1% Latino district is up in a gubernatorial election cycle with lower turnout, that voting power is somewhat diluted. But in a presidential election cycle, that vote might be sufficient. So that's one thing to consider as your numbering. And we can talk about that at the time. But really what that means is there are numbers in place here. And for the purposes of anybody ever asks, our goal right now is 1, 3, and 5 would be in 2026, and 2 and 4 would come up in 2028 in all the plans. But at the last meeting, we'll rearrange it. Now, Districtor is the tool that you have up online, and we've been taking any maps that have been drawn. The last one was on the 28th of August, and Mary Lou's been getting those up on the website so that those can be viewed in our big PDFs. But we can also look at the online tool to draw districts. And then the goal here is to set the plan together, get a plan that is one that you will adopt at your final hearing. That'll be September 25th. It would be great if we left here and you all said, hey, we've got one plan we really want to adopt. I don't know that we're at that place yet, but the goal would be to go into the final hearing with the public understanding what maps you are considering. And so maybe striking a couple of the draft plans that are up right now and saying we're not going to consider those, narrowing the field a little bit. Maybe if you want to adopt one of the public submissions, then we identify that and, you know, maybe 1 or 2 maps or what are we considering for the next hearing. And then this is where we're at right now. That's just to say that in the past, what we've done is we did the 2 pre-map hearings. We did a community workshop. We did the introduction of the draft maps on June 26th. Then we did another community workshop. July 15th, we had a public hearing on the draft maps. And then we're going to be doing the next hearing on the 25th of September. And that's that. I'm happy to take any questions or sit down and play around with maps later.
Madam Vice President?
Yes. Any of my board colleagues has any comments of board member Patty Cortese, please?
Yeah.
Madam Vice President, I'd like to speak.
Oh, you like to speak first? All right, so let's
wanna
give,
go first?
yeah,
Yeah. I
board member
actually-
Herrera
Go ahead.
first.
Attention.
Sorry.
The maps that were submitted by by a community group, I would like you to comment on those, put them up on there and let us know, you know, how you're assessing them at this point as part of the discussion tonight. And is that something that the board would agree that we would just have you do now?
I'd be fine with doing that, but you just want to give me the map number because there were a number of
Okay,
maps.
We're talking about map ID 304244
Sure, I can do that.
and then map 316855.
Okay. I can do that before we're done here. I
Okay.
can go at my desk. I've got it set up so I can bring up those maps.
Okay.
Right, board member Patty Cortese?
Yeah, let me get that set up over on the computer.
Yeah, Board President, can I just make a quick comment? So there are actually two maps on the website designated 304-224. There's the original one and then there's modified. So, no, there's up above that, there's 304-224 modified. And that was the result of the July 15th or 14th public hearing. So,
Okay, 304-244 is modified,
yes,
but then there's another map of 316-855?
855, yes.
Okay, so what we're wanting to look at, I believe, is the modified map 304-244 and the newly submitted 316-855. Three oh four two four four modified?
I think it's
Yeah.
224.
And the board may want to, we'll get into the discussion, but the board may want to designate these maps 304-244 as option D and 316-855 as option E, since the first three have been designated A, B, and C. I'm sorry?
These maps might be roughly identical.
The-
They're pretty similar, I think. So if you can see this map up here now, this is using the mapping software, the public mapping tool. We have, and let me bring up here, I can do put numbers on here so we see that. So district number 1 is up here in the Independence Attendance Area, District
Okay,
3.
just to be sure, we're on 304-244 modified?
304-224.
Oh, 224. I have it down
Do
wrong.
we need it? Was it another one?
Okay, go ahead because I'm interested in your comments here.
We do want 304-224.
If that's the correct.
Is that the one with the modifications? Because we want to make sure that we're looking at the map where the modifications have been made by the demographer.
Oh, that might be the PDF one as opposed to the, yeah.
So make sure that we pull up the map that is the modified version.
Sure. Let me just do the, that one will be in the PDF format that, sorry, I'm just gonna, well, in that case, let's do the other one first then. We'll do this, this most 316-855. Yeah, the most recent one first, because I have to go back and get on the website the PDF of the other one.
Okay,
So, but this is essentially the same general construction. So if we look here, this is district number 1 up here, this independence attendance area. District number 2, 3 is the majority minority district, I believe. We'll look at the actual data here.
what's District 2?
District 2 is here on the eastern side.
Oh, okay, got it.
District 4 is this green one, and District 3 is this like turquoise one that is, I will guess that this is a majority minority district for Latinos, and that 1 and 2 are majority minority Asian districts, and that 4 is kind of a mix of heavily Asian, heavily Latino. Let me look at the evaluation here on the citizen voting age population. So this 3, like I said, it is exactly 50% Latino citizen voting age population. District number 1 is 63% Asian. District number 2 is 57% Asian. And then district number 4 here is 41.8% Asian and 41.6% Latino. This means that this district is cracking an Asian population so that it's denying a majority minority Asian district here and making this district that is this area, remember that where I showed the Vietnamese footprint? It's making that most Vietnamese area as Latino as it can get.
And
I'm saying?
and yet, the overriding value here is that we're looking for the higher likelihood that the board that would be elected would be a very representative board, as like the current one, to the extent possible, which you point out in District 4 that takes something away from the Asian voting population, but it achieves another objective, given the rest of the districts, of more likely to produce a representative board.
So you're saying that District 4 is more likely to elect a Latino?
No, I'm saying that District 4 is more likely, along with the other districts and their strengths and populations, to elect a balanced representative board. Well, it remains to be seen in what candidates would emerge, who would run the most effective campaigns. That's a very interesting district, number 4. But it
Yeah.
does open up more of a possibility.
This is I mean, maybe pass to legal counsel or something, but this to me is a problematic district because it could be perceived that this is a district that is not following Section 2 of the Federal Voting Rights Act.
But
Because there's ability to create a majority minority Asian district here, and it's not doing it.
What is section 2? Repeat that again.
Section 2 of the Federal Voting Rights Act, the way that it's currently constructed, as the courts may be throwing it out in 6 months, so whatever. If you can draw, there's 3 tests in Jingles. It's from a decision called Jingles. 3 tests is that can you create a district that is over 50% of one protected class? And so the Asian community is a protected class. And so you can draw this district in a way where it's over 50%. We've got multiple map plans that do that. And the second is that you have racially polarized voting, which is a precondition of being in the lawsuit. It's what the lawyer has claimed when he claimed that he was going to sue you, is that you have racially polarized voting. So if you have racially polarized voting and you can create a district that's over 50% citizen voting age population, most attorneys would tell you that that is a district that you would have to have an extremely strong, not based on ethnic population, justification for not drawing. You'd have to say the only way we could do that is because, like, if I drew a district that looked like, 6 arms and 4 legs and cutting down freeways and splitting communities, and I said, look, voila, I've got a 50% Asian district, you could say, look, that is violating so many other principles of redistricting that we can't draw that.
Yeah.
But in the cases of draft plans A, B, and C, we have very cohesive, compact districts that are over 50% Asian. And in fact, in this community here is the most heavily Vietnamese population that's over 50% Asian. And to not draw that would require some higher criteria you're trying to meet.
Which might be in existence, right? I think we're making some assumptions in your explanation of the section 2. And I'm interested in hearing more from the community as to why that is the case, but I think there's rationale there, but I'll let Patty go.
Yeah. So, Mr. Mitchell, could you please explain again why you made a comment earlier about why why this needs to be an Asian majority district? Because I just want to get your language around it.
So again, I'm not the attorney, and you have your own attorney plus.
You can say it exactly the
Yeah.
way you said it before. I just have a good memory.
So based on the Section 2 criteria,
Yep.
that when you can identify a district that is over 50% of one protected class.
Yes.
And you have racially polarized voting.
Yes.
Section 2 would say that you have to draw that district or a facsimile of it.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Can we pause there? Because is not a Latino community also a protected class?
They are, and that's the district number 3.
Right, but if we have a District 4 with a slightly over majority Latino population, is that not also a
Citizen voting age population, the next one down. You're looking at total population. See the next thing underneath it says citizen voting age population right here. You have population by race. Go to the next one down that says citizen voting age population by race. Open that up.
Oh, I see.
That's what we have to look at because that's the eligible voters. It's right. Oh yeah, sorry, I closed that. Let me just do this.
Oh, I see.
This is citizen voting age population.
But that's upheld in other maps that the board can consider. The A, B, and C.
Yeah, A, B, and C do have
Yeah.
the,
So what we're looking for are alternatives that have a framework of defensibility that also address other factors. The earlier, the A, B, and C maps focus kind of formulaically on what you're saying. And this board is looking for what is going to give us a higher probability of a more balanced representation. And in my mind, the way that current District 4 is drawn keeps it open for either an Asian candidate to succeed or a Latino candidate to succeed. That gives us in more than one ways, yeah, a potential for more balance with communities of interest. So to eliminate it, to me, goes against the ultimate intent to achieve,
I don't want to belabor the point. And you are the board, you get to vote. But voting under the California Voting Rights Act or the Federal Voting Rights Act, voting on a plan to achieve a specific outcome like you're talking about versus voting for a plan that meets the requirements of Section 2 in the Federal Voting Rights Act, that is problematic. I would find this just as problematic if we were taking the heavily Latino district and trying to make it more Asian, or taking a majority minority Latino district and trying to make it more Asian to create quote unquote fairness. If you have a majority minority district and there are multiple plans that have been submitted by the public that had majority minority districts, even if they're not in favor now of the community, to deny those majority minority districts would be on principle a violation of
Yeah.
the Section 2 of the Federal Voting Rights Act.
I am hearing
So
you very clearly.
I'm willing to not talk anymore, but
Yeah.
that's going to be my viewpoint. for the
Yeah,
rest
I
of the
hear
process.
you. I hear you on that. And both from the collective experience of this board in working with this community and in hearing what this community has been increasingly saying in the last few hearings, we're looking to make an informed and balanced judgment. And for me, that means not eliminating, but including a map like this map.
Okay, the last thing I'll tell you, by the way, on this map is there are tiny little technical things that need to happen. So as an example, when we look at the total population, this district number 1 is 5.5% over, and this district number 4 is 4.79% under. So the total absolute value of the two, the sum of the two is over 10%. So let me show you how easy though it is to fix this deviation issue.
And you went to the next point that was of concern for me, is to have any technical areas for this to be refined and adjusted so that it
Yeah.
is compliant.
I can do that easily. And also if you look down here, this is really tiny, but see this little yellow spot? That's a non-contiguous portion. So this would have to be made into a magenta. See that like that? And then we would need to do something small like, as I did it earlier. Hold on, I can do this. This is how easy you can make this under 10%. You got this census block here. Make that green.
I appreciate you said it's quite easy. I just want a clarity. Are the changes that you're making would allow this map to be in full compliance of the law?
Be in full compliance of contiguity and deviation.
But there's one more thing that you didn't quite address. Does it full compliance of the law of the entire Federal Voting Rights Act?
It'll be in full compliance of only deviation, and contiguity. I can't say that it's in compliance with the law with regards to the Federal Voting Rights Act.
Yeah.
That might be a question that we'll address with our legal counsel.
So by doing those small changes, I believe that's enough to bring it within total plan deviation. So the imperceivable changes that I made while we were talking.
All right. And I like what the board president just said, that based on these changes to make it more compliant on deviation and what's the other phrase?
Contiguity?
Contiguity. Yeah, that we can take a closer look at it and also confer with our council, you know, and see what, you know, what issues arise for us. But yeah, I'm highly interested in this map, and I believe my colleagues share that. And you know, we'll let the board president speak for us on where we go for this.
Other comment before.
Yeah,
the vote,
right,
have a
right.
opinion or a mistake.
Yeah.
Trustee Lang.
Paul, could you bring back the map for
Yeah,
me, please?
I was just trying to switch to the other thing, but yeah, go. I can do that real quick. Hold on.
Pull up the map if you can kind of see the number, because I do want to write it down, because I know we have a lot of numbers.
Which number you?
Yeah.
Okay, could you bring back the percentage of Asian vice versa of Latino, Hispanic, and white?
But
Okay,
when you ask that, you mean the citizen voting age
Age.
population?
Yeah.
That's the,
That's right.
that is, yeah,
That's right.
that is the question I'm asking, because I don't know how did you come up, you know, with area 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But like area 1 is heavy 63% Asian, Hispanic only 16, widely 14. Area 2, you have 56.9, you know, as well as area 3, you have 37.5 as Asian, and area 4, you have about, well, 42%. It's more like 42% as Hispanic. Pretty much is the balanced number on only on map 4. Am I correct? It's look like these two numbers really tight, you know, balance each other. Vice versa, the other map, the other area. The other area is, you know, one way you have heavier, the other one has a little bit closer. So I want to know that, how do you come up that kind of balance?
He didn't
percentage?
design this map.
Okay.
Yeah, so I didn't construct this map, but in the districting process, when you're looking at Federal Voting Rights Act, you are in a way trying to create lopsided districts. You're trying to create districts that are, you know, as an example, the District 3, you're trying to create a majority-minority district. You're trying to draw a district that's constructed in a way where historically, looking at voting patterns, the Latino community will be able to elect a candidate of their choice in that district. And so when you're creating districts in that way, and also just the way the district lines up, if we were drawing districts only based on attendance areas, that independence attendance area is like 60% Asian. So just because of the way the density looks on those other maps that I showed you, where the natural density is, you're always going to have districts that are kind of lopsided in their ethnic composition because of the way that there's kind of self-sorting within the communities, you know, like where I grew up in Glendale, a lot of Armenian population created a lot more Armenian restaurants, a lot more Armenian stores, a lot more Armenian speakers. And so a lot more Armenians came to the area. And same thing's going to be true in the Vietnamese population and the Filipino population, Cambodian populations. All around the state, we have these densities of ethnic populations, and especially in this county, very strong densities of Latino and Asian populations throughout the county. And within that, like I showed in one of the earlier slides, we even have strong concentrations of nationalities. So no matter how you, as an example, drew that blue district, it's almost impossible to draw in a way where you're not going to have a district that's heavily Asian. So you'll have that kind of lopsided representation.
Human being can be a self-selection where we move and where we try to reside. So
Yeah.
Well, but
But-
let
but-
let me have one more question
Yeah.
because on map 3, pretty much is, Hispanic is like 50%. Very, very straightforward. But like the other area, like because on the map 4, it's pretty much concentrate pretty much for an Asian, vice versa as well as Latino. So I'm kind of like wonder that, if I don't know, we can modify or not, but you just wonder how could we balance the map to really fit the community interests, looking to beyond, the area 3, vice versa, well, the area 1, vice versa, area 4, because on the Asian population or as a citizen voting age population by race is area 1 is more than 60%, but might not concentrate as much as area 4. I'm just want to throw out there so we can take a look of how could we modify or how could we work, as a community interest based on the map that we already draw.
Yeah, I mean, we do have, in the other maps, we have more of that balance. So like the district in the northern part on draft plan B, I think it is. This draft plan B, when you look at the citizen voting age population, this district's not 60% Asian, it's 53% Asian, the way this is constructed. And this area, which is that District 4, is 64% Asian in this plan here. So this one is the highest Asian population district in this plan. In this one also, you have all three of these districts are majority minority Asian, and this is the majority minority Latino district.
If we can take the 2 map and we can modify, like for area, district 3 has heavy Latino, as well as district, the map 4 has more heavier Asian, rather than push up to area 1. This one you
This one's
shift
4, but yeah.
you shift the numbers as
Yeah.
4 is on the top, 1, 2, 3 in the bottom.
I've had a hard time following you, trustee Lai. I think I'm more comfortable with the maps as submitted and as adjusted by the demographer, and not start kind of like freelancing how to redraw the map or redesign the map, But Mr. President, the demographer was going to initially go to the first map, 304224. And I'd like to hear about that one before we go to public comment.
As a reminder also from our last public hearing, there were some people that addressed the board in submitting these maps similar to these, not exact, that lifted up the idea of a different notion of a community of interest, which when they get public comment might allow you the opportunity to hear how they see that area 4 as a community of interest that might be unified, even though ethnically it's balanced.
Let me bring up, that is, 304224 is the one that's modified by the demographer. So let me go back to that.
And we could start referring to it as option D versus the other one, the newer one, option E.
I'm comfortable with any description that would give us a little better
Well,
than
we don't have to rattle off the
3042422.
numbers every time.
So let's call it D for our conversation with my colleagues.
Mm.
I'm comfortable with that analysis, that naming to make things easier. We are East Side, we have A to G, so we can start with D now.
And
So
can I
this
just,
is-
I just want to make sure that we're clear. This is the modified by demographer.
Yeah, this is the one
version.
that's named
Okay.
modified, yeah. This is almost identical map. 304224. There's like 6
mod-
versions, yeah. This is modified, it's modified, let's see, I can go back to the PDF if we want. Chrome, sorry. I'll go to this version just so that we have the one from the website. So this is 304.224. You can see it says parentheses modified. This is roughly the same plan as what we just saw. You have the two Asian majority minority districts. You have this Latino majority minority district. And then you've got this purple district, which is taking the Latino and most heavily Vietnamese population and mushing it together in a district that isn't a majority minority district. When we look at the total plan deviation, it looks like the total plan deviation on this, there's a -5 and a +4.1, so total plan deviation of 9.1%. And then you can see we have one district that's 50.0% Latino citizen voting age population. And then two districts at 63 and 56% Latino Asian population. And then here you have District 4, which has 41.7% Latino and 41.8% Asian. And that's that district number 4. And you can see here, what was confusing earlier is that in total population, it's 50% Latino, but in terms of this number here, which is the operational one, citizen voting age population, both of them are at 41%, 41.7 and 41.6.
Net, what do you see as the difference between this map and the other one? What
Nothing,
we're calling option D and option E?
same. I mean,
I'm
there's,
going to ask you to elaborate on same. What does that mean to you? Sorry.
it means I'd have to take a microscope to see the difference between the two plans. They're basically the identical plan. We just had people opening up that plan, renumbering it, saving it again. Unless somebody wants to point out a specific change.
Okay.
But yeah, the numbers are identical.
Well, since this comes from the public, well, I'm sure the member of the public, someone will address that point as we go through this process.
We can look if you want, just real quick. We see this, you can look at this plan, and then let me switch to the other plan. Like, burn that into your memory here for a second and look at this one. It's the same.
For the sake of simplicity, and I'm going to read the numbers really slowly. Map 304224, you would like to call it D.
Option D.
Option D. And map number 316855. Is option E. As my colleagues also we are
Agreement?
in agreement, or at least from
Because the
naming-
first three are called option A, option B, option C.
Right.
Do we make a motion for that?
No, public comments got to go.
Okay.
Please see any other motion that you would like.
D
to
and
make.
E might very well be the exact same maps. Yeah, okay,
We'll give the member of the public to address it, since this map come from the public, if you don't mind.
no problem.
And it's not one way or another. So, all right, I would like to start with public comment unless my colleagues have one more thing they need to say. I know member of the public's been waiting for a long time, so thank you for your patience. All right, let's start with County Supervisor Silvia Arenas, please. I apologize. I'm so sorry. We'll circle back if the moment she's come on. We'll find a path forward. Councilmember Domingo Candalas. Yes, sir. Okay. So I don't have a problem with either option. Just be aware that the moment I allow you to speak on his behalf, I won't be allowed you to speak anymore. It's just a rule. If that's okay with you, otherwise we will. I'm sorry?
Can't speak on my own behalf if I speak on.
That's right, because I think legal counsel one rule that way. We can circle back. Yeah.
So just
Oh, I mean, as long as Superintendent Venice is willing to
I
speak
can read it in.
on that, then you don't have to. Yes. Yeah, yeah.
No, but that's why they're getting
um,
computers.
Well,
Oh, boy.
Mary Lou, can you see if,
All right. You want to start my timer on 2 minutes? I'm going to read fast, Joan. All right.
So.
wait, he might be
Supervisor,
online, Glenn.
We believe he's online.
Is he online, Mercy?
Okay,
Fine.
so. Yeah, of course, we'll wait a second. It's okay. We have plan B, a backup plan.
Aquí está.
About this, since the staff for Supervisor Arenas is here or online, we start with her or him. And then we'll go with Mr. Candalis afterwards. Is that okay? All right.
And I won't
Uh,
look at any text messages you get while I'm holding your phone. Covering it up right now. Covering it up.
Ignore that text I sent until I make fun of him then. All right. Well, on a more serious note, all right, let's start with representative for Supervisor Silva Arenas, please. David, are you speaking on behalf of the supervisor?
This is Patrick
Okay.
McGarity speaking on behalf of Supervisor Arenas. I have just been unmuted, so I will speak. Thank you. I'm going to read. Supervisor Arenas was there. She had to leave a few minutes ago, so I'm going to read on her behalf.
Who's
Uh,
talking?
I'm speaking from Zoom. This is Patrick McGarity, Supervisor Sylvia Arenas' Policy and Budget
Is there
Director.
a way to have more volume on this voice?
Would you guys like me to continue? I'm sorry. All right, I'm going to continue. Supervisor Arenas' comments begin. I'm Supervisor Sylvia Arenas speaking as a volunteer of the Committee for Fair and Equal East Side Representation. We are a coalition of elected officials and community leaders who live in and represent neighborhoods within the East Side Union High School District. I represent a diverse district on the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors. Having a diversity of ideas and diverse communities are critical. This ensures that all voices are heard and represented. The committee of volunteers came together early this summer to draw a fair and equitable map that best reflects the community and the diversity of our board that your board already represents. The first three maps proposed to the board, options A, B, and C, do not represent the diversity of the East Side Union High School District. We believe that we have created two maps that best reflect the diversity of the district. Both have been reviewed by the Mexican American Legal and Education Fund, the nation's largest Latino legal organization. On behalf of the committee, I respectfully request that the board direct the district demographer to make necessary adjustments to map ID 304224 and map ID 316855 to ensure that they comply with all applicable laws and include both maps as options D and E. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next speaker, Councilmember Domingo Candalas or Representative? Councilmember,
Hello.
you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay? Can I get into confirmation? I have no.
Yes, Domingo, we could hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. You know, as the council member for District 8, a proud Eastside Union High School District graduate, you know, I wrote a letter earlier today that all the board members should have received. You know, I'm writing in strong support of the community's call for fairness, equity, and inclusion in this redistricting process. You know, we've been working hard gathering the community's voice with a coalition of volunteers and advocates on a process that should truly reflect the diversity and voices of our neighborhoods. I represent the Evergreen Valley High School, Silver Creek High School, and Overfell High School, all of which have various community members and diverse populations that deserve a fair representation on your board. fair and equal representation is not just a simple procedural requirement under the Voting Rights Act. It is a fundamental principle that ensures every student, every family in our district has a voice, is seen, and is valued. That being said, I respectfully echo the requests made by Supervisor Arenas and urge the board to direct the district demographer to make the necessary adjustments to map ID 304224 and map ID 316855 to ensure they comply with all applicable laws. Furthermore, I ask that both revised maps be formally included in your considerations as options D or E or whatever you deem appropriate. Thank you for your attention to this matter and for your commitment to transparent, inclusive redistricting process. Thank you all.
Thank you. Next speaker, Councilmember Peter Ortiz. Or representative.
Good evening, board members. My name is Vanessa, and I am the Chief of Staff of Councilmember Peter Ortiz. I'm also an Overflow alum. Go Royals, shameless plug. Tonight I'm speaking on behalf of Councilmember Peter Ortiz, who proudly serves as a council member for District 5, representing our vibrant East Side. Councilmember Ortiz also serves as a volunteer with the Committee of for Fair and Equal East Side Representation and is an alum of Independent High School. Our office represents one of the most socioeconomically challenged districts in the city of San Jose, where families are focused on good jobs, safe neighborhoods, and ensuring their children receive a quality education so they too can achieve the American dream. As a District 5 representative, he works every day to secure resources and opportunities for underserved neighborhoods. He understands firsthand how important it is for elected representatives to truly know how important it is for elected representatives to truly know and represent the families who rely on their leadership. That is why he strongly supports district elections and the need for an election map that is fair, equitable, and representative of the East Side community. For these reasons, Councilman Ortiz respectfully requests that the board direct the district demographer to make the necessary adjustments to map ID 304224 and map ID 316855 to ensure they comply with all applicable laws. And I would like to thank the trustees for recommending labeling the maps as both option D and E for consideration. He believes our community deserves nothing less than a process that guarantees fair representation and honors the voices of East Side families. Thank you.
Thank you. George Sanchez. And the next speaker after that will be Karen Martinez and then Darcy Green. If you would like to get a little close, yeah, there you're already welcome.
I'm not used to being on this side. Good evening, board trustees. I'm Trustee George Sanchez of the Franklin McKinley School District, speaking as a volunteer of the Committee for Fair and Equal East Side Representation. And of course, Franklin McKinley is one of your 7 feeder districts. The majority of our students will attend Yerba Buena or Andrew Hill upon their promotion from the 8th grade to your district. The Franklin McKinley School District is located in District 4 of the proposed map ID 304224 and map ID 316855. District 4 on both maps and the Franklin McKinley School District include distinct communities of interest. We have many high-density apartment complexes in our working-class communities. Our neighborhoods deserve an opportunity to elect a high school trustee who understands and represents the community's unique needs. That's why I respectfully request that the board direct the district demographer to make necessary adjustments to map ID 304224 and map ID 316855 to ensure that they comply with all applicable laws and include both maps as options D and options E. And lastly, I'm also, of course, a former longtime employee of this district and father of 3 children who attended high schools in your district and graduated, and of course went on to college after that. And with that, I want to say thank you very much.
And welcome. Good to see you again. Karen Martinez, and then followed by Darcy Green, followed by David Ngo.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. My name is Karen Martinez. I represent Area 2 from the San Jose Evergreen Community College District. I want to advise all of you trustees that I did send you an email this evening, and I also provided it to your secretary this evening so that it actually can go on the record as it provides additional detail. So I will summarize, though, what I had stated in an email, that I'm also speaking on, as a volunteer, the Committee of the Fair and Equal East Side Representation. And I was in your shoes back in 2022 as a trustee, which I still am. It's in the San Jose Evergreen Community College District, where redistricting took place and we adopted the map back in 2022. So creating an ideal map, I understand fully and completely how difficult this is. However, we need to ensure that we represent the students and their families. It is not just drawing lines to meet voters' rights and requirements, but it takes an understanding of community and neighbors we serve, and I can state that firsthand. So you have options A, B, and C to consider, options that our community and committee do not believe are fair and equitable. It is your obligation as trustees to also consider maps created by the public, which we have submitted, and the detail is in your email. In 2012, we as trustees within the San Jose Evergreen Community College District directed our demographer to make necessary adjustments to the map created by the community. So I urge you to do the same tonight to ensure that the district keeps community representation, which still our community school board does. So thank you.
Thank you, trustee. Next speakers, Darcy Green, followed by David Ngo, and then by Mr. Jack Hamner.
Trustees, I'm Darcy Green, Executive Director at Latinas Contra Cancer, former trustee at the Santa Clara County Board of Education and the Alum Rock Union School District. Most importantly, I'm a graduate of James Lick High School. Tonight, I'm speaking, yeah, that's right, go comments. I know that was Tony, wasn't it? I'm speaking tonight as a volunteer for the Committee for Fair and Equal Representation. As a nonprofit executive and former trustee, I understand how important it is to have residents have a school trustee who represents their interest. I spoke at the last hearing on July 15th in support of adding map ID 30224-2224 to your list of options to consider. As a result of a data error on the website, the district's demographer stated that this map was not in compliance with the Voting Rights Act. The board directed the demographer and the committee to meet to resolve the data errors to ensure that the map was in compliance. The committee reached out to the demographer on July 31st and again on July 14th. Unfortunately, he was unavailable to meet with us. The Committee for Fair and Equal East Side Representation has been working through this process in good faith. We believe that the community deserves to have our voices heard. On behalf of the committee and the community, I respectfully request that the board direct the district demographer to make necessary adjustments to map ID 304224 and map ID 316855 to ensure that they comply with all applicable laws and include both maps as options D and option E. Thank you so much for your time and your service.
Thank you. Next speaker is David Ngo. You provide comment for Supervisor Varenas or for yourself? Just clarity.
For both.
Legal counsel, that's acceptable, right? Yes. All right, please start. You have 2 minutes.
Awesome.
You start the clock.
For
again,
which
Phil.
representative are you speaking?
Supervisor Sylvia Arenas. Oh, sorry. Good afternoon, Honorable Board of Trustees. My name is David Ngo. I'm here today also on behalf of County Supervisor Sylvia Arenas, serving as her communications aide. I want to first acknowledge that this district is the very reason why I'm standing before you all today. This district gave me and so many kids on the east side an education and the opportunity to succeed, and I cannot thank this district enough. I was a student at Yerba Buena High School, growing up in Little Saigon and East Side San Jose. At that time, my principal was Mr. Tom Nguyen, now Associate Superintendent. Mr. Nguyen, I am so sorry for being such a troublemaker back then. As students at Yerba Buena, we never knew that we had a lack of resources, lack of access to services, and lack of equitable representation on the Board of Trustees. It wasn't until I was in college that I realized how different it was for me and my friends on the East Side compared to my college classmates from the West Side. Equitable district representation is essential because neighborhoods in our community are vastly different, both culturally and socially economically. The first three maps proposed to the board, options A, B, and C, simply do not represent the diversity of the district that educated me, raised me, and inspired me to pursue a career in public service. On behalf of Supervisor Sylvia Arenas, I respectfully request the board direct the district demographer to make necessary adjustments to map ID 304224 and map ID 316855 to ensure that they comply with all applicable laws and include both maps as option D and option E. The East Side is full of dreamers, future engineers, academics, and writers. It's important that the future of the East Side is represented in districts that reflect the true character of our community, one that is resilient, strong, and representative of the working class families that call the East Side home. Thank you.
That was a compliment to the principal is when your former students come up and speak about your his time or her time.
Associate Superintendent, did you want to accept that apology or say not necessary?
All's forgiven. We're good.
All's forgiven.
I am proud of the fact that many East Side alumni have come up and said that whether they're Royal or they're from James Leagues or YB. So thank you. That is a good thing to see. Hamners, you as president of ESTA, you are given 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jack Hamner. I'm president of Eastside Teachers Association, and I am really overwhelmed by the passion and desire to create fair and equitable maps. So my little point tonight for all of you, the 5 of you, 6 of you, sorry. Looking at those 2 maps, I am going to recommend making a small tweak to them to eliminate one problem that will also raise the percent of Hispanics in Zone 3. If you look at map 316855 in the photo that I have provided to you, there is a little black dot there. And if I understood the demographer properly, one of the things that we should try to do is use major streets, freeways and stuff to coordinate our maps. So if you look at the original map of 316855, it has a little bit of a bump that goes north of McKee Road, and then it has a little bit of a bump that goes south of McKee Road, and you can see the percentages there as they are on the website. So what I did, which in my opinion should have been done, is to draw that map straight out across McKee Road. So it's what we should do, follow the main streets. It does increase the Hispanic percent by 0.5% in Zone 3, while only decreasing it in Zone 1 by 0.1%. But the most important thing about this, if you go back to map 1, is we have a severe possible case of gerrymandering. The black dot on the map, on both of those maps, the adjusted map and the original, can show you where one of our school board members actually lives. And if we don't follow the road as we should in order to create these maps, it puts that member in a different zone, okay? But by drawing the McKee Road line, it actually increases that percent in Zone 3 for the Hispanic population in there to 50.5. I don't know how much of a big deal 0.5 would be, but it's definitely better than it was before, and it eliminates gerrymandering. So if we are going to approve these maps, I would strongly suggest that we do not allow any type of gerrymandering on these maps because that's just inappropriate. Now, also, the same exists on map 304224. Everything is exactly the same. It's the same line drawn, it's the same map, it's the same dot, the same person lives in the same area. So I think those are great maps as long as the gerrymandering part has been taken out. And hopefully this demographer who sure knows what he's doing can get those maps a little bit better so they can be approved and we can vote on them in 2 weeks. Okay? So please consider that because gerrymandering is a real bad thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm just really appreciating that comment. I just want to say that I have been staying so away from what the community is bringing forward that if Jack Hamner had not pointed this out, I wouldn't be aware of it. I have no idea right now where, for example, I live and where these maps that are being brought forward place me. And my intention is not to even become aware until we have to deliberate as a board on the 25th. So there is no gerrymandering intent, I believe, on this side, but what's being brought forward in good faith by the community, we have a chance to point things out, as Jack Hamner just did, as others have done.
Same. Easier enough. But to elaborate, I did meet with one organization. I think I specifically request that do not show me a live map. I don't want to be part of that because I don't want to be perceived that I might interfere in the process. But yes, same. On this point, I would like to have the next three speakers, Gabby Chavez Lopez, followed by Eddie Garcia, and then Kobe Lopez, please. You will have 2 minutes to speak.
Evening. Good to see everyone again. Good evening, trustees. This district obviously produces leaders. So my name is Gabby Chavez Lopez. I'm the current executive director of the Latina Coalition of Silicon Valley, which has a 25-year plus organization that has been serving the community. I was also a proud alum of Eastside Union High School District, go Cougars. I attended the last community workshop and I learned a lot. Thank you very much for all the information and for such an engaged process. I would expect nothing less from this district and the board. And who would have thought redistricting would be such a hot topic, drawing so much attention currently right now, but I think it makes complete sense because the East Side is one of the most diverse regions in our country, and how these lines are drawn truly matters for representation. That's why we're all here, because we care deeply about this issue. And that's why I've been engaged, and I joined the Committee for Fair and Equal East Side Representation in urging that we get these adjustments right and really focusing on the maps that have been identified newly as D and E to really ensure fairness, equity, and strong community voice, and of course, legality, most importantly. So of course, our students and families deserve districts that give every community a fair voice at the table. So I appreciate your transparency, and we look forward to staying engaged all the way through this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Eddie Garcia, followed by Kobe Lopez, and then Christopher Andretti Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. My name is Eddie Garcia. I am a voter, a parent, community member. I used to sit in one of those seats. I think I might have sat in all five over there. And I'm a member of the committee for the equal and fair East Side representation. The first thing, before I make my comments, because I'm going to respond to the demographer, the first thing I want to do is I got an email from a former Salinas City Council member who has been in these districting battles for 35 years, and she's also a governor's appointee, and she wanted me to share them with you. So we can add that for the record. So we drew that 304-224 map and the 316-855 map. And they are pretty identical. And because we think that's the right map. We think it's there. I want to specifically address the District 4 issue. The assumption during the discussion was that it was drawn on a racial basis, based on race, and we did not draw it on race. We drew it based on communities of interest. And so if you can picture where that area is, it's high-density apartment complexes. They're socioeconomically in the same boat. And it's what we call a community of interest, not trying to find a racial balance. So we think that assumption was incorrect on why we drew that, number one. And the second thing is that the socioeconomic community of interest really needs a trustee that can understand what they're going through. And that was primary in our mind when we drew that map and specifically drew District 4. It just so happens to be an influence district, which is defined, I think the demographer can define that for you better than I can, but it's a district that doesn't have a majority anywhere, but, you know, anybody has a shot to win a seat in that district. So again, my last point here, again, is to clarify that District 4 was not drawn based on racial demographics. It was on communities of interest, mostly socioeconomic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Next speaker, Kobe Lopez. And please correct me if I mispronounce your name.
That was perfect. All right, I'll wait for that. Awesome. Good evening, trustees. My name is Kobe Lopez. I'm a proud constituent and graduate of the Eastside Union High School District, speaking on my own behalf. Thank you very much for holding this hearing and for your efforts to make opportunities for the community to provide their input throughout the process. I want to quickly say that I appreciate and applaud all efforts by the community thus far to provide maps and input through this process. I recognize that a primary concern in the redistricting process is the abiding by the legal demographic requirements that have been imposed on our community. But I wanted to take a moment to stress the importance of considering the attendance zone communities of interest, most specifically the grouping of school communities. As a proud graduate of Mount Pleasant High School, I would like to stress my belief that the socioeconomic and academic standing of the schools across the district must be considered in the adoption of any map. Specifically, the grouping of schools with vastly different academic and economic interests raises the concern for me that the possibility of school communities with historic underrepresentation are spoken over by more electorally active and academically advantaged communities. This board has spoken with confidence in the past meetings that all board members elected in these districts will be equally accountable to all schools, even those outside their district or to communities which do not vote in as large a force. Respectfully, I do not share this confidence in the altruism of all future elected board members. Ultimately, the goal of our leadership is to represent the best interests of our existing school communities. And I fear that our concern over how to best test the math, we have neglected to consider the existing communities of interest between our school sites. Thank you very much for your time and for your understanding.
Thank you. Next speaker, Christopher Andrade Smith, and then Elizabeth Castaneda, and then followed by Nancy Macias. And if I mispronounce your name, please correct me.
All right, cool, it's working. I'm Christopher Andrade Smith. I attended ABHS, Cougar Pride. And I first want to give really huge props to Manuel Herrera. Yesterday, I saw you at the rally at City Hall opposing ICE and them hiding their faces. And just huge props for that. Very important. So very much so. Oh, as everyone, yes, I'm sorry as well. I had to leave early. I had work. And then I also wanted to restate my support for map 316855, the fair and equal representation map, with the adjustments from the teachers union, of course. And I really want to reinforce that, like, whatever map you guys go with, to very much focus both on the moral and ethical aspects, but also focusing on the legal aspects. Because the fact is, it will not pass if it does not meet the legal requirements, and also the law is there for a reason. And very much so preparing with multiple maps, bringing it and presenting them, each one based off of whichever one you guys prefer, most favorite to least favorite, so we can make sure that we can avoid gerrymandering, bring a good map, good redistricting, and actually support our communities like how all of us want to. So thank you very much.
Next speaker, Elizabeth Castaneda, followed by Nancy Macias, and then Milan Barrington. Or Barrington. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Castaneda. I am a proud graduate of William C. Overfelt High School, a mother of 3 young boys, and a voter. I'm here tonight because I strongly support fair and equal Eastside representation on the Eastside Union High School District Board of Trustees. I respectfully request the board to vote for map ID 304224 or map ID 316855. Both of these maps ensure that all voters in our beautiful Eastside have a real opportunity to participate in elections that reflect the diversity and voices of our neighborhood to help shape the future of our schools, our students, and overall community. Thank you.
Next speaker, Milan Barrington. Good to see you again.
All right, happy Thankful Thursday, everybody. Milan Ballantyne. I'm the current executive director at the African American Community Service Agency, serving Santa Clara County since 1978. So we have had the privilege and honor of serving this district with all those who have volunteered or worked at the agency. Besides representing Kiana Munoz, who's one of my team members who advocated and made sure that I made time in my schedule to come speak to having fair and equal representation is to encourage the board to make the decision of what the people have asked for. And that is map ID 304-224 and map ID 316-855. The options that they have presented to me as a leader speaking for the people, by the people, and of the people is option D and E. There is no discussion when we are talking about equal representation when it comes to how maps are designed and drawn. But we all know that this country was built on many different traumas when it comes to maps. Choose what the people have presented to you.
Thank you. Any speaker online still? Written comment, email? Nope. We'll give Mary a second to then additional. Okay, all right. I know we spoke quite a bit, but I will allow my colleagues if they have strong things, additional comment after public comment I made. Any?
I just want to address a point one speaker made that attendance areas really need to be focused on and adhered to more closely. And the reality is that the board can't initiate maps, only the community can do that. And the time for submitting any maps to incorporate something of importance to a member of the community, the deadline was August 28, August 29. And so the board can only work with what we have. So it's now option A, option B, option C, option D, option E. And I guess you'd need to, anyone concerned with an emphasis on school district attendance areas needs to study those maps and advocate for the map that uphold more strongly the attendance area part of this. But the board cannot change those maps as such. We're only going to work with what was submitted.
And we can direct the demographers if we choose to, but the existing map A to E was what been presented. The one that I have seen, and Mr. Garcia is trying to wave at my attentions. Oh.
Would have came up, but then you called another name after
It's okay.
Elizabeth. So good evening. My name is Nancy Macias. I'm a proud graduate of James Lake High School, Go Comets, a registered voter, an Eastside resident, and a mother to 2 young boys. I could be with them right now, but I decided to be here with you tonight to express my support for fair and equal representation on the Eastside Union High School District Board of Trustees. I respectfully urge the board to adopt either map ID 304-224 or map ID 316855. These 2 maps provide the strongest path to ensuring Eastside voters have a fair and equal voice. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other speaker if we miss or for any reasons? And then we'll go back to Mr. Trustee Ariara.
I really appreciate all the community comment today and especially appreciate the incredible amount of work that has been done to bring forward maps. Even the first 3 maps were based on community maps that were submitted, and the demographer did his best to work with that and created 3 maps, map A, map B, map C, that incorporated the maps that had been submitted by the community at that point. Some of them had to be dropped because they so were far off from what could even be, adjusted. So where I'm at this point is that the demographer has assured us that he can easily, somewhat easily, make adjustments to the last two maps submitted. We're referring to them now as option D, map option D and map option E, that he can fairly easily make adjustments that would make it as compliant as possible, because he doesn't agree with key elements of them, but the board is expressing an interest in considering what the community has brought forward. So it would seem that the board would want to direct the demographer to actually give us tonight, whatever adjustments that he sees, so that the board can consider them, consult with our legal counsel, and even the possibility of, if we posted a meeting tomorrow, we could have one more hearing on September 18, so that we could take into consideration what happened once the demographer adjusted and what happened when our legal counsel gave us further guidance. And then on September 18th, have a final discussion and clarification of what's going to come forward on September 25, because that's when the board is going to take action. So that's how it looks for me.
I know there's additional comment to make. I just want to get some clarification on the earlier point that you were making prior to the speaker. Some of the map that I've seen, did have 2 school per area, and one lucky area did have 3 schools. So from the 10 perspective, that may address some of your concern. But going back to what Trustee Area said, what we're going to call map D, 304224 and 3016855 is map choice E, option E. The two concern of a number of concern that Mr. Mitchell have raised, the continuity, that's easily addressed. The deviations was also easily addressed. The other issues on the table, which is what you call Voting Right Act under Section 2, we will then confer with our own legal counsel for further clarifications. Am I correct in summarizing?
That's my understanding.
Of your understanding of this point, and include that into legal counsel, like to jump in? Are we good?
No, that's right. That's
Okay.
how I understand.
All right. Lorraine, I just want to make sure I look at you, make sure we're on the same page. This does not discount the importance of maintaining the viability of the other A, B, and C, because we don't know. And if we can also ask legal counsel, look at all those options that we'll be looking at, so that on the 25th, we'll be able to be ready to vote. And on the 18th, which I believe I'm hearing from my colleagues, there is an interest to add one more meeting, so that the legal counsel will be able to give us an opportunity to.
I'm going to make that into a formal motion.
Yes, sir.
That the board direct the demographer to make any adjustments to option D and option E that would make it more compliant as possible, because he disagrees with core elements of that. But the board is interested in pursuing that, and to do that by the end of today, because he says he can fairly easily do that work, so that the board then would also schedule one final public hearing for September 18, which is a Thursday, is it?
Not final, sorry.
A final hearing, but the decision meeting is on September 25. That would allow the board to absorb the implications of any adjustments made, how to further take into account community concerns, and allow us to confer with our legal counsel on all aspects of this, because we need time to be ready for the decision point on the 25th of September. So that my motion is for a September 18 hearing, and for the demographer to submit any adjustments on option D and option E by the end of today, yeah. So that we can notice a meeting and post the adjusted maps on our site.
Second that.
Lorena Chavez seconds.
I got that. Motion made by Herrera, second by Trustee Chavez. Ms. Lane, how do you vote?
Mr.
Sorry.
President, just for clarification. So what I understand the motion is to make the motion includes making map 304224 as modified, option D, and map 316855 as option E.
Yes, I incorporate that into the motion. We informally agreed on that, but it should be in the motion.
Yes.
So I incorporate that into the motion.
So the motions that I'm hearing, I'm going to repeat because I know this is very important. The board is instructing our demographers to modify 304224 as option D and modify 316855 as option E after the modification is made to meet as the legal, fully compliant as much as reasonably can be done in those map. And then additionally, that we have one more hearing on September 18th. Anything else anyone want to add to this? Or this motion
That
is
the
good?
demographer's work be completed by the end of today is part of
Trustee
it.
Lay?
Yeah, I'm agree that we will have, actually 2 more meeting, 1 meeting for next week. Thursday, we finalize the map. But my question I mentioned earlier, I think the map 304224, 316855, I think it's a good map. But what my concern is these 2 maps, both of them on the area 1, vice versa, area 4 area 1 has more Asian population, when area 4 is pretty much is the hub of more Asian businesses as well as community. So I just want to see how could we modify a little bit on the area 4 or map 4 to really reflect the community interests. That is what I would like to bring it up. I mean, like I said, that I agree with the 2 map, but just my concern, the area, the map 1 vice map 4, if we can twist up, if we can modify to look into that, the area 4 or the map 4 much more has more Asian.
Member Lay, I hear, and it's a legitimate issue, what you're saying, but I don't want to complicate the work of the demographer or deliberations by the board to insert other elements that haven't been brought forward by the community or expressed as concerned by the demographer. And frankly, I don't really understand the impact of what you're saying or how it will modify things. And so I'm neither in support or opposed, but I'm a little uncomfortable.
I think I might understand you a little bit better. I think, but I don't want to be overconfident. Could you pull up that map so that Trustee Lay can elaborate on what she's trying to convey to us, so that I don't want to dismiss my colleagues without fully understand the point she's trying to make?
While he's pulling that map up, I don't want to forget the input that was brought to us by Jack Hamner to avoid the appearance of gerrymandering. I don't know if I have to make a separate motion for that.
No, we can make a friendly.
Those adjustments, we just direct the demographer.
We can make a friendly amendment to
incorporate.
that.
I have to log back into the Zoom, sorry. Oh, no.
While we're waiting, I just want to get a clarification. Yes.
In the meantime, I do believe that we do have someone online who's raised their virtual hand to speak, and I think it would be good for us to make sure that we include that person's input.
Yeah.
So with your permission, I'm going to allow to talk. Taika, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you,
you have 2
Superintendent.
minutes to speak. If you could identify yourself first name last, and you have 2 minutes.
Yes, Taika Mitchell, Piedmont Hills High School, and I'm representing the Black Student Union at Eastside Union High School District. I'm one of many who are waiting. And African American students and staff are asking for a clear enforceable policy that prohibits the use of the N-word on all of our campuses. Yet the board canceled the second reading. By contrast, other communities in our schools have already been afforded protections. Asian students are shielded from being unfairly tied to the COVID-19 pandemic, and Hispanic students receive a school-wide lesson against bullying related to immigration status. If those protections are seen as necessary, and they are, then why is it so difficult to extend the same respect and protection to Black students by banning the N-word? The N-word is not just a word, it is hate speech. It carries with it the weight of centuries of violence, oppression, and dehumanization. Every time the word is used on our campuses, it wounds and undermines Black students and staff. So to allow its casual or intentional use is to condone racism, harm, and hate speech. I want to remind the board that you all occupy your seats because of the hard-fought victories of the African American community through the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and later through the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, championed by late Senator Ted Kennedy. Without those struggles of the Black community and the sacrifices, this very board might not reflect the diversity it has today. This is a matter of equity, it's a matter of dignity, and it's a matter of respect. If we can protect other groups from slurs and stigmatization, we must also protect Black students and staff. The time is to act now. Thank you.
Taika, thank you for your comments. I believe that those comments are related to section or agenda item 10.0 on our agenda. And so we will, as we're on a different item now, we will still capture those comments and register them as public comment under 10.0. So thank you again for your
And
comments.
I would invite the speaker who just offered a comment to submit something in writing. I would really like to fully understand what she is saying. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so, and we were looking to bring up
Oh.
a map from
I
the
believe
item
the map
related by
put up
Van
is what, 316-855, is that right? Or is it the other? They're very similar, so I'm
They're
not sure
very
I can tell the
similar.
difference.
Actually, they're very
So,
similar. Both of them.
So they are very similar,
Yeah.
and this is 316-855. This District 4 is almost identical in both plans. And I think what is being questioned is, can this district here, this district that is green, this district in other plans is a majority minority Asian district. And it would actually be relatively straightforward to, again, make this a Asian majority minority district. But the way to do it would be to, remember the slide I showed that showed the density of the Vietnamese population?
Yes.
It was right here in this area.
Yes.
The Little Saigon area.
Yeah, Little
Yeah.
Saigon.
And so if you look at, if we take off the districts, this is the densest Asian population right here.
Right.
But when we look at the districts, it is now cut so that that district, that most heavily Asian population is in two different districts. So if you were to take this population here and put this into the green district, and then move this population, say here, into, you basically rotating it around, you would make that district is you return that district to being a Asian majority minority district. If you were to bring this population in here as an example, and then, somehow either move population here or somewhere
I
else.
don't think that's the goal, though.
I think that is.
Yeah,
This
that's
is what she
because that is the hub.
So if you look at the area that you're talking about,
Yes.
Member Lay is already is in District.
Four.
Well, Mount
That's
Thomas
4.
Is it? It's in 2. It's in Area 2.
No, I thought it's 4.
This
4
District
is the
4 is the green one.
4 is the green one. 4 is the green one. So
It'd be easier to just call it by color than number, because the number change.
that is the hub a Little Saigon. It's the Andrew Hill and YB. Yes.
But what you're pointing out, isn't that covered by maps A, B, and C, especially map B? That's what that focuses on. It holds all of that together. But the community input wanted another map that would use communities of interest on a socioeconomic representation that would also, balance it out with protected classes like Asian and Latino and so on. This is a different map that does something different, focuses on something different, while other maps totally adhere to what you're saying.
I see how I can see the logics of the directions of the not trying to do is accomplishing what Trustee Lay is saying, but also still maintain what you're saying. I think that's what his objective. I know he's not done yet, but I'm seeing the logic of what he's going at is maintain essentially the Little Saigon area, but he's making adjustment to the, I'm going to call it fuchsia. Is that the fuchsia color or to make that adjustment?
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Map
Mr.
five.
Mitchell?
Yeah, I mean, this is essentially, if you were to take this most heavily, if you were to acknowledge here that you have this dense Asian population here,
Yes.
and that in this plan that's being considered, the District 4 is essentially splitting that heavily Vietnamese population into two different districts,
Right.
the normal thing to do would be to figure out a way to unify those two areas so that you again return this back to being a majority minority district. It would retain the character of some of the other districts, but what you end up doing is drawing A, B, and C plans. You end up drawing a plan that looks like A, B, or C.
Or similar, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
With this choice here, you can see that the population from,
This map.
sorry. Yes, if you look at the District 4 here, you'll see that the populations that were about 41% and 41% have migrated to 50 and 35.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. So the work that I did here, which was just kind of quick and dirty, shows that this area can be very easily made into a majority minority district where you have the most heavily Vietnamese population. And it does also still maintain heavy renter, lower socioeconomic status, and those other criteria that could be considered parts of the communities of interest. But it seems as though a lot of the public testimony has been towards a plan that would dilute the Asian voting power here in a goal of trying to make it more equal. And a coalition district, by the way, is a type of district where you have maybe two subgroups that themselves add up to 50%. So you could say it's majority Asian and Latino because it's 25.1% Asian and 25.1% Latino. And there have been moves now.
Don't we have that?
I'm just saying this is a generic district somewhere on planet Earth. Like in some other state, you might not have the ability to create a majority Black or Latino or Asian district, but then they come forward and they say, well, we can create a district that is a majority of Latino and Asian and Black, and we believe that those groups vote cohesively with each other, and then you could create what's called a coalition district. There's not a strong Voting Rights Act argument for it, but it's generally not used in an area in lieu of a majority minority district. It's used in an area where you can't create majority minority districts, so you try to find minority groups that vote cohesively and make them a coalition of minorities that will vote cohesively. But that's not the case. That wouldn't be proper to do where you can create a majority minority district. I mean, this is just like rough, but it goes back to the kinds of things we see in draft plat maps A, B, and C, where you have, again, now 3 majority minority Asian districts, 1 majority minority Latino district, and 1 that's not a majority minority of anything.
At the risk,
Sorry.
at the risk of misstating the obvious, essentially this change is different than what is being required when they're saying, please make these maps in compliance, legally compliant. I was looking for a different solution than returning to a map A, B, or C.
I think what Trustee Lay is trying to convey is the importance of continuity for the Asians in that particular area, because the Little Saigon area. I don't think she's making a motion yet, to my knowledge, of adjusting to the motions.
Yeah.
She's just simply addressing that concern.
So with all due respect, Member Lay, I think if you look at maps A, B, and C, that what you're looking for may already be represented there. And I believe what I believe I'm voting for. What I'm, believe the motion is to modify the maps that we're now calling D and E to fit the request of the community to create more balanced access.
Create a higher probability for balanced representation because there's no assurance
Well said.
in, you know.
And addressing for the perceptions of gerrymandering to make that. But other than that, are there any additional thing you want to add on to it?
I would say we look at what the community has asked for and we observe the maps as is. And we see what is legally permissible and we go from there because the community is clear, has spent a lot of time in putting this together. So let's see what it looks like and go from there. Keep as is.
I think we are specifically asking the demographer to make adjustment for us. So we're not.
Yeah,
just
that is
we make-
legally, so A, B, C, D, E being the new maps, but seeing like based on the legal, whatever you need to take into account to make these legally permissible, but using these specific maps and figuring out what that looks like and coming back. I mean, submitting something tonight is what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
So that we could.
I have D and E done.
Great.
So D and E are done. They're contiguous, they're within the 10% deviation, and I can have those converted to PDF and given to Mary Lou before I head on the road.
But
That-
do they
that-
also, but do they also meet the request of the community, or in doing so, do they become 3 Asian districts?
No, he's going by
There
option
are
D and
two
option E as submitted with the adjustments on. I keep forgetting the
Continuity and
phrase.
deviations.
Deviation and contiguity.
Yeah.
So we're taking the
That-
publicly drawn map.
The correction.
We're only doing the fixes to make them contiguous and to fix the deviation so that you can look at a map that is a slightly modified, but almost exactly the same as public submissions for D and E. And then, if you want modifications beyond that, like anything that the members of the public have promoted before we package those up as D and E, we can talk about that. But right now it's
Well,
basically.
it's not in my motion, but I think there's agreement on the board, or at least not disagreement, that the comment made about gerrymandering and the slight adjustments that are being suggested to avoid appearance. If that could be incorporated, great.
Do we still comply?
They can tell, if you
On-
tell me to make that change, I can make that change to both maps.
It's pretty minor, but it does avoid an appearance. Because they do stick out like a sore thumb.
It certainly raised questions.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty even swap. Like it was the way it was characterized, that you could do this and stay within deviation, it looks to me like that's true. I'll double check it, but yeah, it looks like it's true. If you guys ask me to do it, I can do it.
Well, are
So
there any
what- I
board
think-
members who disagree with that? I don't, I,
Hey, can I just add, so,
mic on?
yes, so I just want to be clear. This process has been blind to the residents of all 5 of the board members. So when we use the word gerrymandering, that means an intentional manipulation of maps. And I don't think anybody here has.
You weren't in the room
provided-
when I responded to that.
Yeah, any evidence of any gerrymandering or influence relating to the residents of any board member.
That's exactly right. This board, and certainly I can speak for myself, I have not studied any map brought forward to see where do I live in these maps. I'll understand it when it comes to the board on the 25th. I'll see where I live and what have you. And obviously that's going to, be in my awareness, but I have a job, I have a duty as a steward of the district to consider community interests and equal representation and ignore where the heck I live, in this thing. So there's a lot of good faith on this board, and a lot of, adherence to community concerns and issues. So
I myself, I don't even look at those maps until looking to now, but I just want to have, the interest, the community, because only that area 4, that is the hub of the Vietnamese community businesses and the residents. So that is why, probably, some of the community probably thought that everything already settled and stuff like that. But as someone that I really look into it, if we can twist or modify to make sense or comply, that's something that, that I want to address at the board here, because the area of green is pretty much concentrated, between Latino and Vietnamese on Asian. And I think that is the best way, because looking to the other, I didn't want to, I also agree with the map, but only the section 4 and the green area, that's what I concern. If we can modify with the section 5, with the section 4, and if we could do that, and I think that's probably works.
So,
But
Member Lay, we're starting to repeat ourselves. As we've said, or as I've said, and others have also, the concern you're raising is addressed in the maps A, B, and C. And to do what you're saying in maps D and E undermines the factors that are trying to be introduced and balanced. And so it does create, a thing, but that's because there's different factors in play. And maps A, B, and C address different concerns, including the one you're expressing. And then these maps D and E try to bring other factors that are important and balance them, and it comes out looking this way. So in the end, we'll have to vote as a board which elements are most important to us, and then we vote for that map or bring it forward for a vote. So, Mr. President,
I'm supporting of the motions as was articulated earlier. I acknowledge your point, Trustee Lay, but I think it is addressed under, I believe, option B. I was trying to hope so I have a different understanding of what you're trying to convey. But if there are things that between now and the 25th that you think that D&E does not address or some concern, we can still debate on that point.
On September 18th.
On September 18th, actually, before we get to that point. I do agree with Trustee Area that there is no gerrymandering as I know it. But if there's perceptions of gerrymandering, we do want to address that, and we want to address that through the map by making essentially
very minor,
very slightly. We're talking about moving, one straight line to make it even straighter, look even cleaner.
Yeah.
I would feel much more comfortable with that. Are you comfortable with that motion?
Yeah.
With the okay.
And I just want to check in with the demographer. Mr. Mitchell, are you clear what that the board is asking for modifications to maps D and E that reflect the spirit of the requests of the community for equal and, more balanced representation?
I'm not modifying D or E in that manner at all. All I'm modifying D and E in are fixing a non-contiguous block and then making small adjustments to make sure that districts are under 10% deviation. And now a third thing is to follow that, is it McKay Avenue or something like that?
McKee, yeah.
McKee, to follow McKee Avenue. If those are the 3 things that I'm doing, that's all I'm doing.
And are there things that you can do to address the other condition of the Voter Rights Act? Section 2.
I'm not being asked to address Section 2.
We are asking you to do that.
No, you're asking me.
We are asking you to do that to the extent that you can, yes. Isn't that right, board?
What I hear is that the only way to adhere to that is to prioritize it and convert it back to an Asian majority district. That's the only option
I don't think I
that he
heard
has
that.
expressed.
I don't think I heard that.
Mr. Mitchell, could you clarify if
Yeah.
you meet the requirement of Section 2, or more accurately, fully compliant of the law, that would have to revert back to similar to what ABC looked like?
If we are to, so I'm not your attorney, but if your attorneys, either your in-house or your contract attorneys believed that, let's put it this way. Section 2 generally means if you can draw a majority minority district and there's evidence of racially polarized voting that you should. My concern that I've raised with District 4 is that you deny the opportunity for there to be an Asian majority minority district in that footprint that's the most heavily Asian Vietnamese portion. If I were to get that district to be up over 50% Asian citizen voting age population, all the modifications that would be happening around it would make it look like A, B, or C. It would not have the characterization that Trustee Herrera has been making, which is that this District 4 is kind of like a toss ball, right? It would make it a district that is a majority minority Asian district. And that, I don't want to say that you're not in compliance with Section 2 of the Federal Voting Rights Act because I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to be defending you in court or something like that. But from a layperson understanding that majority minority district can be obtained there, I'm not able to make that a majority minority district without breaking the overall characterization of the
So
district.
there's no way to make it a majority minority district Latino.
No, there's no way to make 2 majority minority Latino districts. We've tried doing that.
I'm gonna defer this to our legal counsels and,
Well, we're going to confer with
yeah.
our legal counsel
Right.
on what the demographer submits with his adjustments.
I would say that, oh, sorry, you,
Well, if I could, oops, never mind. Yeah, so if I could just add that earlier, what Mr. Mitchell said when he was discussing this issue is that typically that would be the requirement under Section 2 of the Federal Voting Rights Act. But he said, but he also acknowledged that there are circumstances and perhaps higher purposes, criteria, or justifications that would permit it under certain circumstances. And that's once the new maps are up, that is the issue that we will be examining.
I think we're ready
I-
to vote.
Yeah.
my recommendation would be to keep the maps as the community has set it, period, which is, as it stands, the 2 maps to see, yeah. And then see what happens
The
from there.
Modifications that we're asking.
As the,
Yeah,
Slight modifications to comply with continuity
Make
and
it- yeah,
and
legally,
deviation.
yeah.
Yes.
yeah, to make sure it's legal.
more legal. Okay, Mr. President, are we
all
ready
right,
to
I
vote?
think we believe we're ready to vote, with the directions, but I think Ms. Mitchell have a questions.
The 2 directions, contiguity, deviation only.
Um,
Right. There's no other.
Not the McKee
Well,
Avenue.
I didn't include gerrymandering in my, but he's already made that adjustment.
No, I have not.
Oh, you've not? Well, okay, I want to modify my motion to include the adjustments that would
perception of
that
gerrymandering.
would,
That's what,
Let's not call it gerrymandering. Let's just call it aligning with McKee Road.
I'm comfortable with
does
that.
that take care of both?
Yes, and the third option
Both?
too.
I would say that's not the map that the community submitted.
Oh, no, it's not, but it is a comment that is, that can be easily incorporated. It's so tiny.
It's a single straight
A
line.
little adjustment. For both, I mean, if it wasn't a perception issue, it would not have much relevance at all. But let's address it if we can. So, yes, shall I incorporate that into my motion? Yeah. It doesn't change the community's map, those
A
adjustments.
single line doesn't change, but I like to hear from other trustee, trustee Lay and trustee Cortese. How do you Where you lean on this?
No, I already expressed what I want to comply with, the section 2. And, I appreciate all of those comments from the community and come up, I think it's map 304224 and map 31, the 16855. They pretty much similar, not much different, just a little bit. I don't think it's really much different at all. But as what I expressed, and if it's not compliant, then we just have to move it forward with the the board, the decision for next week with the map, because I know that when the community expressed their concern, we heard them, we opened my to approve it, but I just want to say it so that people know that we have someone that really looking to the map, and but I'm not sure that 5 more years I'm still going to be here. So
Sorry, Trustee Lay, I think the questions on the table at the moment is whether you lean toward Trustee Herrera comment that we should we'll make McKay straight. How's that? Okay. And are you comfortable with what Trustee Herrera said, which is make it so that avoid that appearance of any, yep. Are you comfortable with that amendment? Trustee Cortese, are you comfortable with leaning toward that direction as well?
Sure.
Okay. Trustee Chavez, all right. It sounds like we are in alignment. You can make that small adjustment, please. And then we will also, if I understand correctly, will direct legal counsel to provide us with studying on this and then let us know before the 18th. In the meantime, we'll publish this map.
So
Trustee Aaron looking to
yeah, that's all right. Thank you.
Trustee Chavez.
I think we're ready to vote.
Okay. All right. I need a motions by Trustee Herrera. You need a second. Any second?
It was seconded by Chavez.
The original.
Oh,
Okay.
the motion is to or to direct the demographer to make adjustments to have map ID 304224 and map ID 316855, now referred to as option D and option E, bring it more into compliance. And he has in fact already done that work. And to further schedule another hearing a week from now, September 18, to allow the board to consult with its legal counsel on the significance of these adjusted maps and the significance of the demographer's assertion regarding article, whatever it's called.
Yeah, section 2 of
Section
the
2, what have you. So
yes.
the board will have time to consider these and have public discussion again a week from now before we vote on the 25th.
Would you mind if I make, I summarize what you said, sir? We have the motion is to instruct the demographers to modify 304224 as option D and then modify 316855 as option E with the 3 stipulations, which is the contiguous, the deviations, and then make McKay Road essentially straight line from that line, and then submit that to make that public, and then that's the motions. All right, that's motion by Trustee Herrera.
Yeah, and you added something that I forgot to say right now on making McKee Road straight, and I think that's what gave some concern to Member Chavez to not second it at this point, but
We need someone else to
that's in
second.
that motion.
We need
And
someone
to be clear, the reason for that is because it's not the map that was submitted.
Okay.
And we had committed to approving that. And if the board wants to go this way, then I will follow the board's lead.
Okay, and the reason why I'm putting it forward is because it doesn't change the character of option D or E. in the slightest.
Yeah, and we're making,
Well, maybe.
we are instructing the market to make adjustment too.
Yeah.
So, all right. Motion by Herrera. I need a second. Any second?
I'll second.
Second by trustee Cortese. Colleagues, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed unanimously. Moving forward, I would like
Take
to,
a
yeah.
3-minute break or something.
Yes.
I want to stretch my legs.
All right, we'll take a 3 minutes break.
Why don't you bang your gavel?
All right, we will have to restart the meetings. I know you guys rather hang out here for another few hours. Because this is probably the most exciting board meeting you ever attended, I'm sure. So,
So what item are we on now, Mr. President?
we gotta go back to 9:01 to open the public hearing, am I correct? Or do you want to
Correct.
go back?
Yeah, 901, we're gonna do 901, 902, and then 802.
All right. We will now hold a public hearing scheduled approximately, it's now 9:20 regarding the adoption of resolution 2025, 2026, that's 05, authorization to enter into an energy service contract with Environmental System, Inc. District-wide mechanical and electrical upgrade, boiler and chiller upgrade at the Independent High School Theater.
Associate Superintendent Wynn, if you could give us just a 1-minute version of what this is, then we'll ask for public comment. It's pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward. This is a alternate procurement method that state law allows us to enter for energy savings purposes. It enables us to contract with an entity to replace units that are more energy efficient. And if the savings over the lifetime of the unit is sufficiently equal to the cost of replacement, then they allow for these type of agreements.
No, so the administration is recommending approval, but we don't do that now. This is just the part of the public hearing for us to get any public input.
Yeah. Any public speaker on this item? I know we got a good folks here. All right. Calling for testimony once. Anything online? Nope. Calling for public speaker twice. Calling for public speaker third and final call for testimony. The matter is now closed. Okay. Yes, and I'm going back to 902. Forgive me, I have so many paper at the moment. Give me a second to catch up.
For 902, the recommended action is that the Board of Trustees adopt the resolution to enter into the energy services contract.
I believe someone took my agenda while I was gone, so can someone give me a new copy?
Sure.
Thank you, thank you. You know, that's why he got paid the big bucks. All right, thank you very much, colleagues and CBO Tom Huynh. 902, discussion and action to adopt resolution 2025-26, authorization to enter into, wait a minute, that's the same one. No, that's a different one. Authorization to enter an energy service contract, district-wide mechanical electrical upgrade, boiler, this is the actual action, boiler and chiller upgrade at Independent High School Theater, Government Code Section 4217.10. Superintendent Vendizi, please.
Right, so this is the action related.
We're recommending that you approve the resolution.
All right, so any
Um,
questions, comment, discussion? from
Move to approve.
Motion by Cortese, second by Lay. The remaining colleagues, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so motion passed 3.
Zero.
Legal counsel, we do have 2 absence. How do we handle this? Simply acknowledge, or do we have to do one by one? Okay, noted the absence of 2 trustee, but we're moving forward.
We're
Now-
moving forward by going backwards to
That's right.
802.
That's right. We are moving forward by moving back to some of the items that we had earlier. All right.
Okay.
801, did we do 801 earlier, Glenn? Did we finish 801?
We did.
Yes, we did. And then, so now we're doing 802, presentation, discussions, and action to accept the unaudited actual financial report for fiscal year 2024-25.
Thank you, Board President, Board of Trustees. This is the unaudited actuals for Eastside Union High School District to close out the 24-25 fiscal year. And so with, this is a similar slide. So within this, we're going to, where we are in the budget cycle is we're at the annual financial report, unaudited actuals. We have a revised fiscal solvency plan that will be due to the county by October 8th per their letter to us. We have that coming on the 25th board meeting to approve and vote upon. And then from there, we have the first interim in December, governor's budget, January, et cetera, et cetera. So what is the unaudited actuals? It is essentially the closing out of our books for the fiscal year 24-25. It takes into account all the expenditures that be expensed, revenues, et cetera. And it is essentially finalizes the year and provides us with the updated multi-year projection and where we move forward financially. These are statements that are effective until June 30th, 2025. So from here, our external auditors will come in and conduct the audit based on these unaudited actuals, and then they will be presenting to the board the final results in January. And so in actuality, the official close of the 24-25 fiscal year doesn't occur until January once our auditors come and make sure that we've got everything lined up and accurate. So enrollment should not be a surprise to the board. Along with the state and the county, we've experienced similar declines in enrollment over the past 12 years. From 2014 to 2025, we've seen a decline of a little more than 16%. In comparison to the county, overall, the county of Santa Clara declined by 22.33, and in the state by 14.77. The next chart is a numerical representation of that. What I would like to point you to is in these years here, the decline in 24-25 for the state and the county leveled off a little bit more so than our district has. That could be explained by the introduction and full implementation of the TK program, which essentially brought more students into the system. And we don't educate TK students, and so we don't get that benefit. District attendance. We were hopeful last year at this time that our attendance would shoot up a little bit faster. As you can see, after the pandemic, Eastside and among many districts in the state encountered a significant decline in attendance. We're slowly crawling our way back up, not as fast as we would hoped or liked, but we are making progress, and we're hoping to make further progress for this year. And if we see substantial growth at this first attendance period, P1, then we'll make our adjustments. But we base our projections upon the trend line of what we're projecting for our attendance. We are funded based upon enrollment and attendance, which gives us our ADA. So it's total enrollment times attendance, attendance percentage gives us our funding. So that's why these two slides are here. So in the general fund, in what is the real of unaudited actuals. And so these outline the various sources that we get our funding from, local, state, and federal. Our LCF sources, 283, federal funds, 13 million plus, other state revenues, local revenues, and then total revenues. And so our total revenue for our district was $356 million. That's how much we got last year to operate our district. This is where we're at in terms of revenues, what we predicted. in May and what has come to fruition. So what we predicted was 283 million. We pretty much got it right on, or it came to fruition that it was very close. Same thing with our federal revenue. We're off by about $44,000. Our state revenues is pretty much on par with what we projected. Our local revenues, we actually got more than we anticipated. This is largely due to higher interest rates than we thought. So we felt that after the election, interest rates would crawl downwards. It hasn't. It has remained relatively high. Our reserves and ending fund balance are in Treasury, which earns interest. And so with the high interest rates, we're able to earn more interest than what we had projected. And so that accounts for the variance of why there's a little bit higher local revenue than what we projected in May. As far as expenditures, this slide is, I actually want to commend, I don't know if this is even possible, but commend the organization and our budget managers for, as far as our expenses and what we projected, to come within 1/5 of 1% of what we projected. Overall, we see some, overspending, some underspending, but the grand sum of it is that we underspent by about $677,000. Okay, and so that's out of a $396 million budget. And so that's a very, very insignificant number based upon our projections. And that's, like I said, the organization. I think everyone's getting the message that we need to kind of keep our budget in line, don't overspend. And for the most part, they've come through, and it's kudos to everyone. With that being said, we have our combined revenue of $356 million, our total expenditures of $396 million, which means that for 24-25, we deficit spent a little bit over $40 million. We started the year with the beginning balance at $118.5 million. We will end this year, or start this next year, 25-26, with a balance of $78.5 million. So it is a deficit spend of $40 million that we're underwater by, so to speak, for 24-25. One of the elements I like to bring forth here, or to highlight, is on our revenue side. We received $7.1 million through IDEA, which is federal dollars to help educate our special needs students. Our special needs population generates another $39 million, which brings us to about $46 million of revenue that those students, our special needs students, generate. Our total outgoing and expense for 24-25 was a little bit over $70.5 million. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is not that we devalue our special needs students, not at all, but it just highlights the value that we place, and that the funders to be, whether it's the state and the federal government, do not value our special needs students as much as we do, because we are vastly underfunded for the services that we provide for those students by about $25 million as far as the variance. Our multi-year projection, based on the unaudited actuals, as you can see, we've deficit spent $40 million for 24-25. We are projecting into our budget for this current year, 25-26, to be deficit spending another 36.2, and then for 26-27, another 38.4, and then for 27-28, 38.5. What that means on the bottom line is that for this year, we will meet our financial obligations as far as being able to have enough funds to pay the bills and meet our 3% reserves, which is about $12 million. However, we cannot close out 26-27 the year after and meet our reserves. We will have some money, but there isn't enough in the reserves to meet our financial obligations. And then I don't need to tell you further for 27-28 what that projects out to be. So that is our multi-year projection. The next slide will kind of detail our journey. The budget process is a 15-month process from last June to when we adopted the budget. And then the state has a system where we have to provide the board with updates essentially every 3 months, right? And it's done as a check to make sure that we stay accountable and we're held accountable for our budget and our expenditures. In June of last year, we were projecting a deficit spend of 53.4. A lot changes from June to when we begin the school year. And at first interim in December of 2024, we redid our projections and we projected a negative $44.9 million deficit. And as you can see, as we go along through the entire budget process, every 3 months or so, we have to tweak and reproject our numbers based on our current trends and our current expenses and what we know. And over time, that number has decreased to 43.4, 43.1, and then finally where we land is $40 million as a deficit. Fortunately, but unfortunately, we were pretty close to our projections. Unfortunately, because I wish this was not a deficit number, but fortunately because it is relatively close, that we weren't too far off. And again, that's kudos to the entire organization, especially to Sylvia Pelayo, who's sitting behind me, and the entire business division. And so that's through the entire cycle. What is next is we have budget review committee meeting that took place this Tuesday with our bargaining unit members. We will have budget advisory, our first budget advisory committee meeting will take place on the 23rd of September. And then we have the revised fiscal solvency plan due to the county by the 8th. We'll bring that to you on the 25th. And then get ready for the first interim reporting period. We're hoping to have different numbers as far as our projection. Inevitably, this number will change between now and December based on our PCN reports and meetings and our current spend at the time. Any questions?
Just I'm astounded by the accuracy of the projections. That's incredible. I mean, that's like literally like needle in a haystack kind of thing, to be off by less than $2,000 on your LCA. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah. So
Like I said, it's a total.
it's just a
team
lot of
effort.
confidence in the budget, right? Yeah. Appreciate that. Thank you, Sylvia.
Similar to what my colleagues have said, very impressed by the accuracy. Appreciate the hard work, you and your team. Thank you very much, Ms. Palayo. Continue to be as precise, as consistent, and that's important to protect the financial integrity of the district.
So we do need to take an action to accept this report.
Member Lay had a comment.
So the only 2024, 25 that we meet the financial obligation, we did not look beyond that, 25 or 26, 27. That is the time that we need to have 3%, right?
In every year, we have to have 3% reserves. And we close out this year meeting that 3% criteria because we're ending the year with a reserve of 78.6.
Okay.
We're going to end this year projected at 42.4, which will meet our 3% reserve. That's why there's a yes here.
Okay.
But for 26, 27, we will not be able to end. Now, assuming nothing changes, right? And we all know a lot changes within the budgeting process at the state, federal, local level. But assuming nothing else changes, then for 26, 27, we will not end the year meeting our reserves. So
Unless we take some corrective actions
Right.
ourselves, not just count upon the state,
Correct.
federal, et cetera.
Right.
Right.
And we always have to keep 3 years on the roll, right? Should be 24, 25, 25, 26, 26, 27.
that is correct. And so at the first interim, we're going to have to present to you a budget that encompasses this year, 26, 27, and then 27, 28. And then from there in December, that's when the county will determine whether it's a qualified positive or negative budget based upon the bottom line number that we will present in December.
All right. Thank you, Associate Superintendent Tom Nguyen, for your report.
I believe we need a motion to accept unless you have
I
additional
would like to make
questions.
the comment that I missed your presentation, but I know the quality of your work. I know the quality of the staff that supports you, and I've always had and continue to have great confidence in the board being advised and us having the information we need. This was in our packet materials, so I have some familiarity with it. Thank you.
Great,
Hey, Mr. Huan, if you want, just go back to this slide where how precise, how accurate you are. That might impress.
Oh, I already heard it.
He
There
knows,
you
he
go.
I already heard
There you
it. So
go.
I would move for approval of the
All right.
unaudited actual.
Moved by Trustee Area, second by Trustee Lay. Colleagues, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. We accept the report. 4 out of
With
5.
with
Yep,
Member
4 out of
Chavez
5.
out of the
Trust-
room.
yep, Acknowledge. I think Mary got that. All right, so. If I remember correctly, we moved 803 to September 25th.
Correct.
Therefore, I would like to jump to 901, which I think some folks are very excited about. All right, whole public hearing at approximately.
Okay, we've already done
Yeah, we
that
did
item.
that.
Yeah,
I'm
you,
sorry, thank
yeah.
God.
So we did
Gotten so
901,
familiar.
902, so now we're at public comment 10.0.
Thank God, I believe I did it, yes.
Yes, you did.
And I also did that 902 also. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I mean, we can do it again.
No, I think people are too much excitement for one day for some member of our publics. We are on item 10.
Yes.
1001, member of the public may address the board on any subject not on tonight's agenda. However, provision of the Brown Act, Government Code Section 54954.2A and 54954.3, political any actions as an unagenda item. No response is required from the board or district staff, and no action can be taken. However, the board may instruct the superintendent to agendize the item not for a future meeting. Excuse me. Any person may address the board on any item on the meeting agenda. Persons wishing to address the board may participate and comment as follows. In-person public comment may be made in person in the meeting room by filling out a public speaker request form at the room entrance. When your name is called, please come to the podium. Please state your name for the record. You may also raise your virtual hand in Zoom to request to speak and offer comment in real time. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Persons may also fill out a speaker request form via online submissions. Comments should be limited to no more than 1,000 characters in length. Please reference in your submissions the agenda item number for your comment. Your comment will be read out loud as part of the public meetings. Anyone from this public? Oh no, I do have a long. All right. I believe this pinned together because you would like to come up together. Am I correct? All right, come on up. It's Carlos Velasco, Ariela, Hannah, Angeline Nguyen. Yeah, I think I recognize you. Say hi to your father for me. Sophia Lay, Christine Fan.
Sophia's not here, but
Oh,
everybody else.
sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. She had to leave.
It's Christine, no?
Christine's still here, yeah.
Christine here, but Sophia.
Sophia had to
Okay,
leave. yeah.
understood. Come on up, guys, and welcome.
Are they speaking as a group or as individuals here?
We're all representing Kip San Jose Collegiate.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, but we'll speak in.
Okay, you still have 2 minutes. Am I correct? Each.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, fair enough.
I'll try to be quick.
I don't know if you did that much, but all right.
Okay, good evening, President Bell, trustees, and Superintendent Glenn Van Der Zee. My name is Carlos Velasco Arreola. I am an alumnus of Santa Teresa High School, so I'm part of the Eastside Union High School District. I'm a lifelong Eastside community member. Tonight, I'm here with students from Kip San Jose Collegiate. First, I want to thank the district staff for their ongoing partnership. We've been working closely together, but we are concerned that responses to our request have not been timely enough to meet the fast approaching October application deadline. We are asking the board to direct district staff to allow KIP to apply for Proposition 2 grant funds. It does not obligate Eastside to enter into any long-term agreement with KIP. If awarded funding, KIP and the district would then follow your established policy and RFP process to negotiate a long-term lease at our current site. That step would only come later and only if funds are awarded. This is also a highly competitive process, so we're not expecting to necessarily get those funds. We see this as a win-win for KIP and for the district. KIP is applying for these funds to bring resources that will help address long overdue facilities needs. KSJC is currently housed entirely in portable classrooms. 14 are over 27 years old and 7 are 21 years old, well beyond their expected lifespan. While KIP continues contributing to the district's deferred maintenance pool, the upkeep burden has fallen disproportionately on us. Securing Prop 2 funding could significantly offset costs for both the district and KIP. And if we are not awarded the funds under our lease terms, the district remains responsible for replacing or maintaining the aging portables. Our request tonight is simple. Please allow us to apply. Doing so does not commit the district to any project approvals. It only ensures that Eastside and KIP are in the best position to secure state funds that will directly benefit our students, our schools, and ultimately the district as a whole. Thank you for your time and consideration. You will now hear from some of the students who stand to benefit most from this opportunity. Thank you.
Great. I have my name and Liz Hannah, but you guys can choose however you order because you are from the same organizations. Hannah, introduce yourself, then you have 2 minutes.
Is this on? Okay.
It's on.
Good evening, board members. My name is Hannah Tedesco, and I'm a 12th grade student at KIP San Jose Collegiate. I'd just like to take a moment to talk a little bit about my school and why we're formally asking your permission for to apply for Prop 2 charter funding. At KHJC, not only are we pushed to do our best, but we are given the support needed to make it actually happen. Throughout my time at KHJC, I've received mentorship and college counseling that will set me up for years of success in my future. The teachers at KHJC take the time to really get to know their students. Every single teacher I've ever had has given me personalized feedback so that I am successful given them my mistakes. This level of support has allowed our school to achieve extremely impressive academic results reflected in our outstanding test scores. While our academics are strong, facilities play a major role in whether or not students can thrive. For a school like ours, Prop 2 funding isn't just about buildings. It's about making sure every student has a learning environment that matches the excellence of the instruction. Safe, stable, and adequate facilities will allow us to maintain and exceed the level of support and preparation for future classes of KIPSers. With them, it'll be undeniable the level of success that we'll be able to achieve. With your permission to apply for Prop 2 funding, we can continue to build on this progress, not just for my class, but for generations of students who will walk through our doors. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, Angeli Nguyen.
Good evening, board. My name is Angela Nguyen, and I'm a proud senior at KIP San Jose Collegiate, or commonly known as KSJC. My peers and I are here tonight because we deeply care about the future of our school community. We are here to request that you allow our school to apply for California's Prop 2 grant. As students, we spend most of our day on campus, whether during school or after school, and we see the firsthand impact our learning environment has on us. KSJC has given my classmates and I so many opportunities, such as in-depth academics, dedicated teachers, and a supportive community that pushes us to succeed. But we also face challenges within our facilities that make it harder for us to focus and thrive. Classrooms can get overcrowded and students endlessly request for more rigorous classes, but our school admins can only do so much with the spaces that weren't designed to be permanent classrooms. Allowing KSJC to apply for Prop 2 funding would change that. It would give us a chance to build a more fitting place to learn, a place that matches the level of education we are constantly working so hard to achieve. We aren't just asking for ourselves, but for the students that will come after us. Future generations of KHJC students deserve a campus that supports their potential, and you have the power to help make that possible. I first stood before you 3 years ago as a freshman to ask for your recognition of our school security issues. Now I'm a senior, and I'm requesting that you help us towards the final steps of cementing our future of our campus. And as your board discussed fair and equal representation today, I hope you don't forget that we are students of this district as well. Thank you for your time and consideration. We hope you will give KSJC the chance to apply for Prop 2 funding.
Thank you. All right. Next speaker, Christine Fan. You will also have 2 minutes to speak.
Good evening, board. My name is Christine Fan. I'm a current senior attending KIP San Jose Collegiate, also known as KSJC. My previous years at KSJC have led me to believe the funding provided by the district does not suffice all students, staff, and administrators that show up to our school daily. One area of focus that truly upsets me is our lack of classroom management. Our current school layout consists of a series of portable classrooms, often small and enclosed, which is not favorable
for a classroom that's meant to accommodate up to 40 students. Not only does our physical space affect our learning environment, but the potential to exercise and expand our range of learning. In addition, the issue of courses in our curriculum is related as well. Curriculum-wise, KSJC currently offers a mix of general, AP, and elective courses. The main points of concern is that KSJC is restricted to offer a sum of 13 AP courses and 1 foreign language course, being Spanish, whereas compared to our neighbor school, Independence High School, who offers 25 AP courses and 4 foreign language courses. As of now, KSJC does not offer additional AP courses, nor does it offer additional language courses because its capacity has reached its limits. Regardless, additional courses cost space on our campus, teachers who are needed to facilitate the course, and materials that are provided to the students, all components that are constrained directly from our school's current facilities. As a student who is pursuing a graduate degree, resources at my school are limited in supporting my aspirations. I am here to ask for your consideration and support of providing our school with the opportunity to apply to Prop 2 in efforts to address these issues and therefore carving the path for future generations. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Come on in. I'm okay with that. If no one else objects, we'll replace Sophia Lay. How's that? All right, introduce yourself.
But if the board president doesn't have the information, you still need to submit.
You have to fill
one.
it out after. You can
No,
fill it
not
out afterward.
after.
Then there, it just wasn't like.
Got it. Tell me your first name.
Christian?
You're right next speaker anyway. It's okay. All right, welcome. And you will have 2 minutes to speak, Christians.
Good evening, board members. My name is Christian Monarez. I am a Eastside student here, and I'm here to represent KSJC's families and students. Please allow KSJC the chance to apply for the Proposition 2 grant. In the past 4 years at KIPP, I have learned exactly what it means to be a rose growing from concrete. I have learned in 14-year-old portables that get broken into. I've learned to self-study for APs we can't offer on my own. And I've seen my people get accepted into top universities. We are not just surviving our environment, we are succeeding in spite of it, using every challenge to become more resourceful and more determined. Our potential should not be limited by cracked pavement. This grant is the soil and water our community needs to flourish. Imagine the dreams we could achieve with a campus that can match our ambition. We're not asking for a guarantee, only a fair chance to show you what can grow when you give a rose a solid ground to plant its roots. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next speaker, James A. Statten. Welcome, sir. You will have 2 minutes to speak.
Good evening. My name is James Staten. I'm first vice president of San Jose Silicon Valley NAACP, and I'm here to speak on a subject that was not on tonight's agenda, but we felt strongly should have been. That was Board Policy 5137.1, positive school climate prohibition against hate speech, use of the N-word. You had your first reading back in May. Then it was given back to the community and the staff for more input and see how it will be brought in line with current ed code and current board policies. Well, that was done, but there seems to be some reluctance, at least the appearance of reluctance, to go ahead with the second reading. And we're a little concerned since this the current climate is harmful to both staff and students. And we're urging you to take this up at the next meeting for a second reading. If not ask for a vote, we just want you to give a second reading. Then we can see whether you're going to vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional public comment that have not been
No, we have online written comment. First comments from Greg Van Holt, staff member. I'm asking that the district board provide another read for board policy 5137.1. Not enough is being done to protect our students in and outside of the classroom from language and ideas that are harmful to our students, particularly our Black students. It's going to take the whole community to work on healing from the long period of hurt that we can do to proactively support our youth. Has to be considered. Board 5137.1 is one avenue to address this harm, but we have to start somewhere. Second comment is Jada Davis, a student. My experience with hearing racial slurs against Black people. Next comment, Megan Adams, staff. I'm urging the board to reconsider having a second reading of Board Policy 5137.1 on positive school climate prohibition against hate speech and the use of the N-word in order to address the rampant use of the N-word across our schools, along with allowing a racial slur to be used in our classrooms without any harm reduction strategies being implemented to mitigate the harm being done to our Black students. As a BSU advisor in Eastside, it's completely unacceptable and shameful for the board to turn a blind eye to their Black students and staff in trying to address the prolific usage of the N-word at all ESUHSD schools. Although we are a small percentage of our overall population in our district, does not mean that our voices matter any less. Our Black students have every right to go to school feeling safe and welcomed. I urge the board to take actionable steps like having a second read of Board Policy 5137.1 to address the rampant use of the N-word among the students in our campuses. Next comment, Lindsay Myers, staff. The agenda item I wish to comment on has been removed. I'm disappointed to see the district has abandoned the proposed board policy meant to deal with the use of the N-word. The issue is ubiquitous and has been a problem since I started working here 23 years ago. It's imperative that there is a policy specifically denouncing and specifying consequences for the use of the N-word. Infraction should be viewed seriously and action towards offenders taken swiftly. The word that has no place in our school setting and needs to be eradicated from our sites, as the consequences of the current environment are traumatizing. I urge the district to reconsider the adoption of a board policy addressing the issue, or at very least amend current board policy to specifically addresses the N-word. It is shameful to claim we welcome all students as they are, yet we allow the denigration of our African American students on a daily basis. There's no other written comment.
Thank you. 1101, discussion and action to nominate, elect 2 board members to serve on the District Local Control Accountability Plan, LCAP. Thank you, by the way. Have a wonderful night for being here. Continue on to serve on the District Local Control and Accountability Plan, LCAP Committee for the 2025-2026 school year. We need to elect 2. First of all, do we have any volunteer who's from my colleagues who are excited about serving on this committee?
Yeah, I want to thank Ed Services for last year making the adjustments and with greater participation and action for some of our board members to get these positions there. Council suggested that we formalize this action. This is different than the informal meetings that we had with just 2 members present. This would be 2 board members that are actively form part of that committee, and therefore we need 2 people or asking that the board name and approve the participation of 2 board members.
Okay.
How many meetings do we anticipate this will be? And approximately when?
Let me find that really quick. We're scheduling 1 meeting each month, I believe it is. Yeah, and the first one is scheduled for Wednesday, October 1st. And there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
All the way through May?
7 through May. So October 1st through May. And they're specifically, most of them are on Wednesdays, with the exception of the main one that had a conflict, and that's on a Thursday.
Looks like there's 7 in total.
That's very exciting. Do
Person.
we have some volunteers?
They're in person?
Yes, in person here in the boardroom, 5:30 to 7 p.m.
Any volunteers?
I will not be available for any of the scheduled meetings. Thank you.
I don't want to always fighting for this, okay? I know this is a very exciting meeting. So do you would you be more comfortable if we split the test? Or I'm just asking the colleagues here.
I guess I want a little clarification here. Is this an invitation if the board has the interest, or are you asking the board to be involved by being present in the room?
Let me answer that. Last year, there was a clear indication from the board and request of administration to bring meetings together
Right.
for the LCAP
Right.
with board participation. This is that moment that the board asked for to participate in this process.
Just be clear.
This process on cell phones?
No, this is regarding the LCAP.
This is the LCAP.
Jeez.
Just be clear. This is something I'm interested in. I'm just giving my colleague an opportunity to
All right, well.
So let me dial,
Example of my scramble.
yeah, let me dial back my volume there a little minute, on the dial there, Manuel, if you were thinking this is about cell phones. So this is regarding the LCAP meeting process.
Okay, I volunteer.
All
to
right,
be
there we
involved.
go. That's what it's.
Any other taker before I jump in?
If it was hybrid, I would do it, but that would be tough for me.
Oh, because you do travel quite a bit sometime. Rogelio, so this is the questions. Yes. Yes, she can attend a hybrid meeting.
I
over
think
Zoom.
the in-person obviously would be preferred, but a hybrid with a Zoom could be, we could make that work on those dates where it was possible, but
That's a good question.
If legal counsel,
Actually, if there's two board members interested, I'd rather step back. I stepped forward because I thought there was silence.
I think let's address the first questions, which is essentially Trustee Cortez is wondering whether, because she does like to participate, this is an interest to her, but there may be a time where she may be traveling.
no,
which is
I
why-
guess the commitment, the request from the district in alignment with what was discussed last year and built into this year is the participation of two board members. If the board members aren't able to attend every meeting, that's fine. A hybrid is optional, but substituting in and out doesn't go along with the spirit of the ask of constant informed interaction with the membership of this committee along a timeline where new data is presented and the formation of a plan, which is pretty complex, goes forward with the informed nature of a board member that understands the budgetary concerns that have been discussed tonight. All that goes into being a board member.
So, Mr. President, if you have an interest, I would defer to you and Member Cortese if she's can attend hybrid.
I have an interest. I just want to be sensitive and respectful to Trustee Cortese because it's not that doesn't have it. She does. The problem is she's sometimes traveling and she's giving very respectful by adjusting for this. Maybe what we can do is two people with one substitute. Would that works?
The action does not call for a substitute. It just
Okay,
asks for
okay,
two,
all right.
with the understanding that board members might not be able to attend every meeting.
Okay. I have a strong interest. I just want to give my colleague an opportunity if someone I want also come in front of me, but
Patty, if you have an interest, I'll defer to you.
if it make you
Fair.
feel better, I try my best to be on Zoom on some of those meetings. So you won't be the only one with that. And I don't mind Zoom. I in-person Zoom, it doesn't make a difference for me.
I think
happy
it's
to-
a real comment, though, that it might work for us, but in terms of familiarity and comfort level with other members of the committee, that if someone could dedicate to being in
Okay,
person,
I'll-
that makes the most sense.
I'll step in then. Board President Doe and myself are the two board members.
I'm happy to do it. It's good work,
It's great.
important work. So, all right.
We
the
need to
motion-
vote? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I'll move
We
to
need a
approve.
motion from someone else other than Trustee Herrera and I.
Yeah, I'll move to approve Trustee Herrera and Doe for the LCAP
Second.
committee.
All right, motions by Trustee Cortese, second by Trustee Lay. Colleagues, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed 5-0.
For the LCAP Advisory Committee, is
Yes.
that the full name?
Yes,
Okay, for that. Yeah.
LCAP Advisory Committee. All right. 1201, discussions on action to receive first reading of proposed amendment to board policy 6184, continuations educations.
It's reading. This is a first reading of board policy that speaks to continuation education. It is in full alignment with the updates through CSBA, and there is no deviation from that language.
I need emotions. This is, well, actually, this is the first reading. I'm sorry. No. Ignore that. All right, 1202, discussions and or action to receive the first reading of the proposed deletions of board policy 5119.1, involuntary involuntary transfer to continuation school, and board policies 5119.2, involuntary transfer to continuation school without time limit, yearly appeal procedures.
Yes, so similar to the previous items, these two board policies no longer exist or are referenced in CSBA. And so we are seeking a first reading for deletion of these two policies. The information contained within these two policies is now actually, for your information, embedded within board policy 5116.2, which is under item 12.04, and board policy 6184, which is the one that you just received for first reading continuation education.
Okay, this is the first reading. We simply acknowledge and accept the, we receive the first reading, excuse me. 1203, discussions and action to receive first reading of proposed amendment to board policy 6173.1.
Yes, again, similarly for this one, it is a board policy specific to the education for foster youth. It is inclusive of updated language to be in alignment with new legislation as well as education code. And it is taken from the samples from CSBA, and there is no deviation from that.
All right. We receive 1204, now 1204, excuse me, discussion and action to receive first reading of proposed amendment to board policy 5116.2, involuntary student transfer.
And again, finally, on this one, this is a new policy for us that encompasses the deletion of the previously mentioned board policies. And again, it is in direct alignment with no deviations from the sample policies from CSBA.
1301, discussions and or action to approve the contract for professional service over $25,000.
Move to approve.
Motion by Cortese, second by Herrera. Colleagues, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed 5-0. 1302, discussion and or action to approve the use of piggybacks for general purchasing. Thumbs up from our CBO.
Second.
Moved by Lay, second by Cortese. How do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. 1303, discussion and action to adopt resolution 2025-26-06 declaring the district membership to enter into a cooperative procurement agreement with one governmental procedure alliance, one GPA. Any
So
comment?
this is similar to the piggyback
Right.
kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Okay,
co-op purchasing.
Yeah, I'll move to approve.
Moved by Cortese, second by Lay. Colleagues?
Aye.
By vote. Motion passed, excuse me. 1304, discussion on action to adopt resolution 2025.
Sorry, what item are you on?
I am now on 1304, sir.
13.04.
13.04.
Oh, okay.
Forgive me. Thank you, Trustee Lay. Discussion and no action to adopt resolution 2025-26-207, establish appropriation for GANN spending limit.
Move for approval.
That's standard item every year.
Yep. Moved by Cortez, I'm sorry, moved by Herrera, excuse me.
I'll second.
Second by Cortese. The little arm twisting there. Colleagues, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. 5-0. 1401, discussion or action to receive first reading of proposed amendment to board policy 4119.11 and 4219.11, sexual harassment.
Yes, this is updating language to the board policy. Just like the ones under Ed Services, this is in direct alignment with CSBA.
Right. This is the first reading. We simply accept it. And then we're moving on to 1501. Discussions and action to approve the bond capital project contract for professional service over 50,000.
Move for approval.
All right.
Second.
I heard move from Herrera, second by Lay. Colleagues, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed 5-0. 1601, approve board retreat minutes for June 18, 2020.
This is consent calendar.
Yeah.
Consent.
Yeah, this is consent calendar. I'm sorry. You know
Move
what? Thank you.
for approval of the consent
Consent
calendar.
calendar.
Second.
Moved by Herrera, second by Cortese for consent calendar. Colleagues, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Item 21 is where you're at.
We're gonna have to flip a couple more pages here.
Written reports and recommendations comes after consent calendar.
Yeah. Recommendations. All right. We don't have any written report recommendation, do we? To
No.
submit? No? All right. Not last time, excuse me. Future agenda item, 2202, opportunity for Board of Trustees to request items on future agenda. Any item?
Just going to offer the same caveat that I did last time, that their next meeting on the 18th and the 25th, by any indication from tonight, will be quite lengthy with
Yeah.
the public hearings around redistricting.
Right.
And I will meet with the board president to then adjust the scheduling of what has already been asked for, so we get that done.
Yeah.
And when we hear closing comments, you'll hear that, like, the committee on cell phones is starting up next week, and so it's going to take a while to get to that.
There's quite a bit of on our plate for the next few months. Yes.
Glenn, I know that we have quite a couple future items, but from last time, but did not show on this time.
You're saying they're not listed on the future items list here in the agenda?
Oh, not in here, but did not show in here, so.
It doesn't show here, but it shows there.
It
That's
could-
why
is
they-
that
they-
We
they-
could drill in there, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, use the wall as well as the paper.
Okay.
I think,
Looking to, sorry about that.
well, no, let's just save some trees, please. We'll circle them because it's been a while. I think we got some item on front.
Yeah, and I think it'll be important for Board President Doe and I to meet and think out the scheduling and some of the items that have been on there for almost a year or more, and which ones are recent, and
Yeah.
which ones we might want to time to certain committees being in place before we come back.
Sound good. All right. Future item, that's cover that. Annual governing calendar. Anything else you want to add or adjust to that? Nope.
Just a reminder that we'll issue the notice of the meeting that we voted to for September 18, and we'll notice that we'll be here from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay. All right.
Oh, from 5 p.m. to 7? And that works for you, Mr. Superintendent?
It works for the team. That's right.
For the team, okay, thank you. So that's the
Could you
time.
repeat that? Because I think Mary is asking you. She's give,
September 18 meeting is from 5 to 7 p.m.
5 to 7 p.m.
okay. I appreciate your optimism. 5 to 7. All right. Communications by trustees and superintendents. I would like to start from my left unless there's strong passion from my right. Speak first.
No comments tonight.
No comments
right.
tonight.
Trustee Herrera.
You're going to your far right now. Okay. I have no comment.
No comment.
I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the member of the public for attending and expressing their perspective and the cooperative working conditions of the team to move forward and collectively together. Superintendent Venezi, please.
Well, first of all, yes, thanks for everybody in attendance tonight. And it sounds like we still have some work to do to hear our community respond in forms of maps, and that's what we'll be about. We'll be about it on the 18th. I would also like to encourage during these times for our students and families to be at Independence High School September 30th. Our college night is awesome, like awesome. And historically, it's been in the gym, and families in the thousands have gone in there, and we've sweated it out together to find the best opportunities. So this year, they're doing a little bit of a hybrid move. They're going to take it over closer to the new student union. Well, there'll be colleges outside, inside. We've been to, I don't want to talk any mess, but been to college nights at other districts. Nothing like this one. For those who say, college, what other opportunities? Yes, the trades are there. Community colleges are there. Four-year schools are there. Public universities are there. Private universities are there, as well as agencies that can help you, help families plan and pay for college. So please, if you haven't planned on attending, get there. It's completely worth it, and there's total time. To that same end, however, I don't want to forget that we are the home of the Spartan East Side Promise. We're the only high school district in this area for which San Jose State has said if you get a 2.5 GPA, take your A through G classes and pass them with a C or better and apply by November 30th, you're in. And looking very much forward to extending that relationship with San Jose State and deepening it and getting that word out to our feeder districts. But students just know that November 30th, seniors, boom, got to apply by November 30th. Freshmen, sophomores, juniors, get those grades of C or better. Complete opportunity available to you. The other thing I would like to note is that driving around, you might have seen a few flags at half-mast today. Those flags were at half-mast today because 24 years ago, East Side lost an important member of its community, but also to our country in Captain Jason Dahl. Captain Jason Dahl was born here in San Jose in 1957. His family had a dairy delivery service, which very much meets kind of who we were as a city during that time. He attended Andrew Hill High School, graduated in 1975, got his driver's license before he graduated, but before he got his driver's license, he got his pilot license. And because his dream since he was born was, I want to fly planes. And he made that happen. And he became a pilot who flew on Flight 93 24 years ago, a flight that was taken over and crash landed in Pennsylvania. And so I want to take this time to remember everybody we lost on that day, but also understanding that it hits this close is our own people and serving others who it kind of surprises me that was 24 years ago. I hate to say it for me when I said 1957, how's that possible, right? But 24 years ago, lost his life. So want to remember him, want to remember all those that perished on 9/11 in 2001. And just also want to emphasize that although that occurred, that notion of I want to be a pilot and coming up through our system and making a dream happen and having the opportunity to make it happen. I mean, he was part of the Aviators Club, right? Things like that. And to continue our students and our staff that yes, things happen in life. I don't think when he went into those planes, he was thinking 9/11, I'm going to live my dream. And it's an encouragement for all of us to make sure our students do dream those dreams. We build the opportunities and we work for the best. So just want to end my comments tonight thinking of him and the work we do together. Thank you.
2401, legal counsel.
Closed session item 2.07, the board unanimously approved subrogated settlement amount of $17,683.84 in the claim of J. Sato. Closed session item 2.08 in the matter of John Doe 1 versus Eastside Union High School District. The board unanimously approved a settlement agreement and release of claims. Settlement agreement and release of claims by the district, in that matter, involving the payment of $1.5 million by the district in exchange for a mutual release of claims and dismissal of the lawsuit. In the matter John Doe 2 versus Eastside Union High School District, the board unanimously approved a settlement agreement and release of claims, pursuant to which the district has agreed to pay the plaintiff $1.5 million in exchange for a general release of claims and dismissal with prejudice. And in the matter of Jay Perez versus Eastside Union High School District, also item 2.08. The board unanimously approved a settlement agreement and release of claims, pursuant to which the district will agree to pay $250,000 to the plaintiff in exchange for a release of claims and a dismissal of the lawsuit with prejudice. There are no further actions to report.
I will adjourn the meeting in a moment of silence, a remembrance of the heroes, those who lost their life on September 11, 2001, including Jason Dahl, pilot of United Flight 93, at Tree Hill High School, class of 1975.
Thank you, Mr. Borges.
Thank you.